All right, we are live. I am excited for our night tonight. I want to thank you guys. I know that we did have some people who had some conflicts because this was originally in the calendar last Tuesday, and tonight is big fraternity meeting night and like different things. So I did know that, so I did promise that I would get this out there. Oh, Mr. Lee looking so good. We're going to dive in. I'm excited for the guys we have in front of us, the guys we have on here. I know we'll have some more jumping on as we go through. But first off, I want to say hello, happy fall to everybody. I know that this has been for me, it's been a super fast month. Like I feel like we were just at CFC and I'm like, holy crap, it's like 5 weeks later. And so it has moved so fast. But so many good things happening, and these 5 weeks are just such a funky, weird, 5 weeks typically across company, just because it's like, people are transitioning. We've got people moving away to school. There's just a different flow. There's a different energy of what's happening from the summertime to the fall. And it's an adjustment. And I think about, we've had in the past where I've had people who work with us in the summer, and then in the fall, they're like, it's just, there's like no one here, or there, and I'm like, it is a different energy. And we can still create all that, but definitely during season, you do feel the buzz more, but we're excited to be able to recreate that in our offices now through the fall and spring. And I know it's really exciting when we can build our teams, and we do have those 20+ person meetings, and we are able to have you guys mentoring people, working with people, coaching. And that's part of the process. We're going to be talking about that today, and just like really like where you should, like if I'm you, what should you be focused on right now? Like, what do you want to be mastering right now? We have 1 month until we're an Olean, right? And so it's like, what do we want to make sure that we're like on lockdown, feeling really good about in this next month? And we're going to be covering that and talking about that today. So I'm super, super stoked for Olean trip. It's going to be amazing. I do want to give a shout out to these individuals. I know it's backwards on the video, but Jeremy Pavrak, currently number one in savings for the division. He has $7,172 in savings. We've got Christina from our Corpus office, $6,315 currently in her savings right now for this next year. Cassandra has $2,259 in her savings. Amadeo with $1,340. And Eduardo, bring it up here. We have Robbie Nichols at $1,264. Miss Lauren at $1,112. Mr. Ashton Powell at $823. Mr. Javon at $727. Miss Christina Patterson at $695, and then Richard at $558. And I know we have some people that just added. I know Stephen, you just added money. I know some other monies came through that have not been totally updated, but as of what Olean has right now and what the region has, like this morning, Lloyd sent this out to the whole region, just the rankings region-wide and where people were region-wide as well as divisionally. And that's something we look at. And I know that for some of you, you're like, wait, well, like, why does this matter? Or what is this? And this is really important just for you guys setting yourselves up. Like there's two sides of it, right? Like one from the company. Think about if you're the company and you're just like handing out like $6,000, $10,000, $15,000, like people to start their own businesses, right? And I'm like, all right, we're going to invest into you in your first year, right? We're giving you $15,000, like, that's a lot of money, and it's not just one or two people that they're doing this for. And Charlie, can you get the air conditionings, please? It's not just one or two people that we're doing this for. This is something that they're doing for, 50, 100 new DMs across the nation, right? If not more. And then you've got our branch program. And the branch program, you've got the company saying, okay, we're going to entrust these like 17 to 25-year-olds primarily who are running branches. And we're going to give this kid who's like right out of high school or in college, $6,000 to go run their own business. that's a big deal, right? Like that's a lot of money for them to just be like, oh, cool, yeah, let's do that for 100 people, like that's a lot of money. And so for the company, they want to know, okay, is this person for real? Is this person really, like, one, are they good with their money, right? They want to know that. They, like, corporate national wants to see, like, are they good at handling money, finances? Are they consistent performers, right? Because if you're consistently selling, you're consistently putting money away. But if you're not, then they're like, well, is this someone we really want to spend the money and invest into? Because if they're not a consistent performer on their own dime, who's to say they're going to do that on ours? Typically when it's someone else's money, you kind of take it more for granted than when it's your money. When you've invested, when you've put your money in something, you usually take better care of it. You guard it better, you care about it more. And it means something, because you work towards it. And so this is really important, as we're going through, for you guys to remember that, so for them, if they want to see, is this person serious? Are they good at handling money? Are they consistently saving? Like, those are things they're looking at before making decisions in January, as to, okay, who are we giving this opportunity to? Most of those decisions are made between Christmas and January. Some are made earlier, and we know people are on track, and we know people are doing the right things. And so we're excited about that. So again, great job to, top 10 so far. And I know that money was added this week, and this will be moving around. But that's something where you want to keep adding. And even for Olean, they invest about $1,000 a person for the Olean trip. From helping with the product that you guys can sell so that it costs you nothing. They still pay for that product. From them covering the rest of it, because it costs a lot more. It's about $1,500 a person, for just the actual trip, to cover the flights and the hotels for 3 nights and all the meals and all the stuff adds up a lot, So, and the company takes a huge hit on that. And they say, these are future leaders. These are people who are helping build our business. And so these are people that we want to invest into, And I was thinking about, I was just talking to Steven actually earlier. He was on earlier, on time, 15 minutes early. And we were chatting about, he went to a job fair yesterday or this week, but he was sharing, and I love it, because it's something I talk to people all the time and I hear all the time, that when people see the skills that we're learning, when people see what you get to do, because he was sharing, he's like, yeah, they were like, huh? And like that you as a young person, like when you say, oh yeah, like I get to go, like I'm going through this program, I'm working really hard to do this so that I can have a chance to like actually run my own business, with a $250,000 company and get that foundation so that really sets me apart to land X, Y, and Z, whatever it is you want to do, whether you're like, I want to open my own practice, I want to open my own firm, I want to land the top engineering job, with blank company. I want to stand out amongst all the other applicants who are also graduating from A&M or also graduating from UH, who are also top engineering students, and they're all wanting the same job. And when a company looks and goes, why you? What makes you different? And they're looking at that they see, oh wait, you did what? And that you as a young person invested in yourself and spent a summer like actually running your own business, and that a $250,000 company trusted you enough to be able to like fund you and help you and support you in that process. And so I think that's something not to be forgotten. I think sometimes it's easy to take that for granted, of just like, oh yeah, and I hear people go like, I don't really know if I like want to like run an office. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like the best, I'm like, I don't know that we want you to, but like you have the best, craziest opportunity as a young person, as a young professional, to be able to have a chance to do something like that. It'd be crazy for you not to fight to the death to get yourself ready to be able to have that, because anyone can, pay for classes at school, get a degree, do all that. Obviously, when you're going into the, bigger schools or heavy schools you're trying to get into, those will take a little bit more work, to get into as well. But, being able to do something like this is so huge for you guys, and so huge for your resumes. And so not forgetting that. And so we've got, I'm really excited for tonight, and I'm really stoked for next month and the month after, because I had just different friends and people I spoke to and people who are in my masterminds, where we pay tens of thousands of dollars to be parts of these groups of, top level executives, CEOs, top level entrepreneurs, and all different fields and industries. And we just have some killer people this fall that are going to be lined up speaking at our events. Tonight, we've got 3 different experts. And tonight, a really special one for me is our leadership, because it's actually my first leadership mentor that I have known for 25 years. And I didn't know then that he was my first mentor and like in that area and in that arena, and someone that I've continued for 25 years to always speak to, work with. I had a chance to see him last week and spend some time in conversation with things, and it was just so neat. And I said, I would love to have you, speak to our guys. And so he was really stoked to be able to do that. And so he'll be speaking on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey and some other things, and just stuff from his experiences. And I'll be sharing. And Mr. Scott Doan, like he has worked with professional teams, private teams. He's done a lot of coaching. He's been an athletic coach, and also, has has 40 years of experience in leadership, coaching, and management in all industries. And he gets called like Eric Holzberg, I forgot his last name, but the guy who runs the Miami Heat, the head coach of the Miami Heat, like calls him to ask him, what book should I read? What should I be learning? How should I be growing? Like that's who he calls. Pat Riley will call and talk with him about stuff. And he used to run the Heat before, and he lives down in Miami. And so he's real connected with these guys, but working with a lot of different teams and just well respected, by a lot of top people and top leaders and top coaches because of how he coaches. He's never just like, oh, let me teach you how to play softball or how to do this or that, but really understood what it took to develop high caliber individuals who go on to do incredible things. And again, one of the people who has a huge, huge impact on shaping and molding me in my life. And so I'm really excited for him to speak to you guys today. And you'll see he's really chill, really laid back. We have very different personalities. But when he speaks, I'm just like, and he's like very soft-spoken, very chill guy, but just so knowledgeable. And I was like, hey, do you have any books that you could recommend to me? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, he's like, I have a bunch of others, but those are some of the like ones that I love the most that I always tell people. And I was just cracking up because I was thinking he was going to give me like, 3 to 5 books. And he like pulls out his list and he's like, oh, here you go. Do you want to write them down? Do you want to take a picture? What do you want to do? And I was just like laughing going through. And this was the lineup that I got of books that I should read. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, so here's a couple to start with. And so I love like, and I'll share that, later, but someone who's so growth minded. We have Dr. Jamie Hope, who'll be speaking in a little bit. And Dr. Jamie Hope is, oh my gosh, she's got so many freaking accolades, but she's an author, she's a speaker, she's a professor with her doctorate. She runs the emergency center in Detroit, Michigan, and runs all their programs over there. And I'll give you specifics on stuff, but just an absolute badass. And she gets brought into all different groups to speak on, health and creating the right habits to have the right energy to be able to do all the things, you want to do, and is really an expert in that industry. And I talk a lot about energy and stuff, but every time I hear her speak, I'm just like, wow, like she just, and she's so passionate about it. And so she was like, yeah, I'd love to share with your individuals. She's like, I get brought into companies and I feel like it's too late sometimes, and it's never too late, but it's like, I wish I could have talked to these guys at, when they were in their 20s, 30s, 40s, not when they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and just like struggling or coming into her hospital, like, falling apart. But just, what can we be doing now as we're growing, as we're building businesses? And when you're doing that, like, when you're like out to do X, Y, and Z, and you have all these big goals and all these things you want to do, the fact is that takes energy from us, right? And so you're going to need that extra boost to help you get where you want to go. And so I'm really excited for her. And then my financial investor and coach will be speaking later on today to wrap us up at the end and just sharing some thoughts and tips on building wealth, specifically with Vector, which he's been working with Vector people for so long from this industry as well as outside in other industries. So I'm stoked for that. And I know next month we've got some real estate experts that'll be coming in, and some mindfulness, and she coaches entrepreneurs on just like really owning your like thought process. She had wanted to speak tonight, but I was like, I'm already booked up. But she's also super incredible. So she's like, yeah, I'll definitely speak. And again, some phenomenal stuff that you guys are going to get in terms of, you know, really owning and thought mastery and really knowing where they're coming from. And it's all to help you achieve at your highest level, you know? And so again, a lot of the stuff that you guys are going to be exposed to as we're going through this program is stuff that you'd pay lots and lots of money, you know, whether it was private coaching, seminars, whatever it is that you're doing, you know, getting an opportunity to learn these things and to grow this way. These are things that are going to help you guys out for a lifetime, you know? And so I want to, what's your name? Hey, Cole. I think actually Erica's waiting for you in that room. You're checking. So these are things that we want to make sure, again, we really set you guys up for success. So we're going to be, I know we've got Moses Perez, actually, I'll be jumping on in a couple of minutes. I was giving him about 10, 15 minutes. I know he's really, we've got some really good things happening right now with the events team. We've got a packed schedule over the next couple months. And we were chatting. He called me the other day. He's like, I just want to share like how excited I am about what we're building, what we're doing. And we were just talking and I was getting fired up listening to him. And I said, well, hey, you know, I'd love to have you come for a couple minutes and just like chat with our key leaders, you know, in any way that we can help or serve them, in any way that we are able to give back. I think that would be incredible. But around that, I wanted to say this, write this down. And some of you guys know this and have heard this. Write this down, Rita. All right, Rita. And I'd love one of the newer guys to tell me, what does Rita stand for? Anyone? All right, recruiting is the answer. I remember when I first started in this business, and one of the first things that the president of Cutco, who was the vice president back then of the Eastern region, he said, if you want to be in this business, Rita's got to be your best friend. And I was like, huh? You know, and he's like, and he didn't explain what it was. He's like, you have to know Rita. You got to know her real well, you know. And then we met her cousin Prita, and he's like, you know, this is, you know, Prita, like she make things happen. All right. And I was just like, huh? And I remember this, like, I don't know, this is like over a decade and a half ago. And so what he explained, he's like, Rita is recruiting at like our business. Like if you don't know Rita and you don't really understand the nuances and the back end of recruiting, like you're not going to make it in this business, unfortunately. All right. And there's two sides of it because rep development is also really important. So you're not, you know, constantly spinning your wheels and feeling like you're going nowhere. And so there's two sides to it. But there with Rita, and does anyone know what Prita is? Personal recruiting. All right. That's Rita's cousin. She's awesome. But just knowing the whole process. And so something that for those who have been attending the weekly preps, we've been going through and it started talking about the, you know, campus and the PR engine, how to rock a great PR call. We went a little bit with our reps of like, okay, we're recruiting these reps. How do we retain them? And covered some of the PCs. And we started and just last week gave a glimpse into the interview, right? Some of you guys have been running interviews already. Some of you guys have not. But this is what I would tell you. The number one thing from now until we go to Olean this next month is like have your interview down. You know, and so like getting your interview, like, do you have your pre-screen? Do you have your post? Do you have your perks? Like get those down. And then you have the actual interview itself, like opening it up. And there's, you know, two versions that we've been exposed to. What we've had is where we open it up and we have the video going through. The best recruiters don't just let the video play. They pause after each section and say a couple things and then put it back on to play. And this was something that in our DM meeting, Nick, or actually we had Maz that from Denver that went through, and we had that recorded for anyone who wanted to sit and go through it. And the best best way to get something down is to script it yourself. And what I mean is play the video and just type it out. Because we have stuff, but like before, they never used to give us scripts on purpose so that you internalize, that material. And you really get comfortable and confident with being able to execute that. All right. So again, we touched on the stuff from the interview, but that's a really big thing over these next couple weeks is just, are we getting the different parts down? And so pick 1 or 2 parts to just get down, like a pre-screening. That's really simple. So practice that for a week, practice a pre-screening so you can feel really good with that. If you don't have the interview script, you need to let us know that. And I'll send it out again in an email so everyone has it. And then I know some of you guys have the VMP and it's all in there as well. But just making sure that there's time for practice. Cool. Like you're not going to get it down. And we're not going to learn this just meeting once a week, because when Roman's running stuff or John's running, we're running things, we're teaching, we're putting stuff out there. We're teaching you guys things, but that doesn't mean that you learn it. That just means you heard it. Now you're familiar with it, right? Like when you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember him talking about that. Like at the first time you hear something, guys, you get familiar with it. All right. You don't learn it. Would you guys agree with that? All right. And so it's like, and the more you hear it, the more familiar and like, you're like, oh, and like you need to be in a place where you could regurgitate it, right? That's when you like know it. So if you can say it before they do, or you could say it the same way, like you've gotten to a place that you know it, but that's not going to come until there's repetition. Now we're not going to repeat necessarily every single week because we have different topics, the same exact thing. So this takes you, like I was, I was talking to Lauren yesterday, for the events team. And I said, she's working her first show Saturday. I said, have you gotten your script down for people walk in? And she's like, you're not going to learn it. Like the way you're going to learn it, it's repetition, So the number one thing I've always told people when you're learning, so do this for your pre-screen, do this for your post, do it on separate voice memos. The number one thing you can do is record yourself saying it, or record someone who's amazing doing it. And record them and just listen to it over and over and over and over, okay? Until you can say it, all right? Until you can say it along with them. And again, if you can sit down and type out what they say in that recording, that's even stronger, all right? So I told Lo yesterday, I said, record yourself saying the script, and that thing should be on your headphones like all week. You should just be hearing it over and over because your brain retains that info, like it remembers so much of what it hears, and especially through repetition. And if you're hearing it, you're saying it. And even if you're hearing it when you can't say it, you'll start saying parts of it that you can say with it. And then whenever you can actually be listening to it while you're reading the script and saying it out loud, like that's where your brain really starts retaining that information. So what is it for you? Some people memorize a lot quicker and retain better writing it out over and over again, from writing it out over and over again. And they're like, okay, I got it down, and they'll say it. Some people, it's hearing it over and saying it and reading along with it, saying it out. And so some people, there's different percentages, right? Like some people are more audio learners, some people are more visual learners. Some people need to actually like do, so we know this. All these components are part of it, okay? But are you setting yourself up for success? Are you actually setting things up so that you're learning? Because if I asked you right now, in the past month that you've been doing GCLA, what have you learned? And you're like, oh, well, I learned. I'm like, cool, do it for me. Could you? And whatever you can do, you haven't learned it, you heard about it. Okay, you're familiar with it. You're familiar with the topic. You don't know it, all right? So we really want to make sure that each week, you have 2 or 3 hours of study time, just like any other school. That's what we said, it's like a 1-credit class, even though you guys are showing up for a weekly 45-minute or an hour and 15-minute, lesson, all right? Then are you actually doing something with that so that you can get that down? So right now, do the different parts of the interview and just pick one to like focus on each week. Or as soon as you get one down, listen to the next thing while those of you who are in school, while you're driving to school or while you're walking to school or while you're eating lunch, like, can you be getting that down so you can really set yourself apart, all right? Once we get to Olean, the focus switches from the interview to training, okay? And so that's where in Olean, we're going to be diving in and talking about the different segments of training, how to really rock a great video training. But something that I think is phenomenal to get down is a strong opening for yourself, you know, and even if it's a strong introduction and then you go into the video, and we'll be chatting about this, and Jacob will be sharing stuff on this, Roman will be sharing stuff on this, and Olian, but we'll be walking through and then making sure that you guys, there's the foundations of training of like, how are we setting them up from the interview to training? How many names are they coming with? You know, how are we driving the phone jam during training? How are we following up with people? And so we're going to be going through that stuff, because many of you, some of you guys are ahead of it, and you've already ran trainings. You'll be running trainings before Thanksgiving and Christmas break. But the rest of you, like by Christmas, you're running a training seminar. Like, you know, usually during the holiday break, everyone's ran their first cycle, if not their second cycle. So what are we doing to prepare so that you guys can crush those? Okay. But again, right now, it's all about the interview. Cool. So you've been hearing about recruiting. It's like, how do we create recruits? Because there's a funnel. And so I'll say this, and then I'm gonna bring on Mr. Moses. So write this down. So number one, the first thing when it comes to the recruiting funnel, number one, is we have to create touches. Cool. Create touches. That's the first thing. And what are ways, and anyone can unmute themselves, but what are ways that we create touches? Like, how do we get people to apply?
Social media, flyers.
All right, putting out flyers. All right, who unmuted themselves here? You guys can also write it in the chat box. All right, so Snapchat, campus, high schools. All right, so doing tables, like you can do tables, but there's two types of recruits. All right, there's active recruiting and there's passive recruiting. Okay, passive recruiting is like you put something and we see what happens. All right, what are forms of passive recruiting? You guys can write these down. Craigslist, all online ads. Cool. Passive recruits, all online ads. All right, all online ads are passive recruits. Also, if you guys put ads like on the school websites, so you can put school websites like job placement ads. So those, all right, yep. Alex said sending out emails, whiteboarding. All right, some of you guys have been whiteboarding, and we'll talk about that. Those are not passive though. Those are active. So passive are your just putting up job posts. So if you put in the school, like high school sometimes have a job board. Colleges all have a job board. Online Craigslist, Snag a Job, Career Builder, like all those different things, all right? And those are all, you know, passive recruits. So it's like you set it and forget it and you see what happens, you know? So anywhere you can put ads. Active recruits, all right, are people that you're actively doing work to create these recruits. So with that, and by the way, even with like putting up social posts, when you put up social posts, to me, those are passive. Like I like putting up an ad. Like if I just put up a post, like that's passive. Now what's active is if I actually send out messages to people individually, like that's active, because like I'm actually engaging in conversations with people versus just I posted something on my story or I posted something on Twitter and just kind of seeing what happens, you know? So with your active, that would be campus, you know, talking to people on campus, running tables on campus. So a lot of campus work, and then personal recruiting, like with friends, a lot of that is active work, as well as on social media. If I'm sending private messages, right? Facebook Jumpstart or Snapchat or Twitter, like private messages, I'm actively doing that versus when I just put a post up on Facebook and say, my job has some openings. And then that's kind of an ad and we're just waiting to see who like interacts with that ad. All right. So we're going to talk more about that because we'll have a little quiz on that. I'm like, okay, what are the different things and what are the areas? And we're going to talk more and build this out. But I want to hand it over to Mr. Perez here real quick. And I want to say thank you, Mo. I was sharing with them before. It's been so neat to see like just your excitement and enthusiasm around really building this program and just onboarding our new guys in such a strong way and preparing these guys, you know, over these next 8 months to just be badasses and get great at their skills. so that when they get a chance to run branches or work next summer, and those who have an opportunity to get selected for branch and sell at 50%, or our district managers who are training people to do this, their confidence in their skill set is on another level, and they're able to really maximize that, which is super exciting. And so I'm excited to have you helping really lead this thing with Jonathan and the rest of the leadership team. And thank you for reaching out, and wanting to take time to just say a couple thoughts. So I have you on. I don't know if we can hear you.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, let me try this again. All right, go ahead.
All right. So really, guys, I reached out to Kat. I just wanted to let her know like the vision that I have developed and that I really want to be able to do with it, which I've shared to a few managers and stuff. But really, for those of you guys that are on GCLA that have already like got your field trainings in and they're about to do your first shows, like it's exciting. I want to get more FaceTime in with all of you guys as well, just because we're really trying to cultivate a culture here where you guys learn how to be part of the Fair and Show team. You go out, you run your branch, and just like Kathy just said, when you're done running your branch, you're actually at a straight 50%. And it's a really, really fun thing to be able to just go out, sell, divide everything by 2, and that's your paycheck, right? And what we want to do is we want to have you build your skill sets on the Fair and Show team now, so that way whenever you're done running a branch, just that much more better with Cutco as a rep, just because you've been teaching it and everything for the entire summer, that you can just hit the Fair and Show team for the fall, which is our busiest time of the year, and crush it. And be kind of like a John Dell on his first mall shift ever last year, sold like $6,000 in one day, and imagine being at like 50%, like you just made $3,000 in a day, and you don't have to wait on like a bonus check or anything like that. So it's really exciting. And I just want to come on here and let you guys know, like there's a really awesome vision for you guys, to where whenever you're done for the summer as a branch, you can still continue to make money, build your business, really go into that professionalism that we talk about, and that Kathy really, really wants to be able to bring out in you guys. And I'm super excited about it, just because I haven't gotten to meet all of you guys, and I really want to invite you guys to our next Fair and Show meeting, which is actually on October 22nd, I believe. And we do it one Tuesday of every month, and it's for like half a day. But you guys can show up, and if you are excited about joining the events team, I mean, that's where you get to meet me, Jonathan, Cheyenne, Zetta's there. Like, you get to meet some.
I think we lost you.
But bring you in, just really, really be able to make sure that you guys have success here. Whether you're here for just while you're in school, whether you do this long term, like we want to build that culture and that environment to where we can actually create just awesome young professionals that can kick ass in and outside of Cutco. So, but Kathy, is there anything that I can't remember if there's anything else?
No, I would just say there are definitely opportunities for you guys too to get involved and connected as we go through into the fall. And those are, 2 things I think about right now. Obviously, learning a new skill set and helping you guys get some more, sales and leads under your belt, because working these shows, you get a chance to meet a lot of great people. And you also learn a different type of sale at the booth. And so getting some extra CPO as well as getting extra leads in different areas of more people that you guys can see, and different people, diversifying, your net of recommendations. That's a really great way to do it as well. And, getting music has come on. I don't know from where. All right, maybe I found it. Maybe not. Hold on. There we go. Found it. Sorry about that. But yeah, getting a chance to be able to do that. So if you guys have a chance to go to these meetings or work with them, you're also getting a chance to connect with some of the top shippers that are not just top in our division, but some of the top national individuals, so don't forget that, getting to be around several Hall of Fame sales reps and learning from them with Mike and Frank and Jonathan and our Court of Honor guys and the group that we have is so strong, and they're so excited to be able to give back and mentor. And I love that because they don't have to, and they're all about it. And I think that that's really exciting and shows a lot of, great things about the leadership team that we do have. So anyway, thank you so much. And you said the date again is October 22nd.
Yeah, hold up. Let me look at my calendar right now. I can tell you for sure.
22nd.
Yeah, I don't think it's the second.
It's October 22nd.
Yeah, I have October 22nd.
Yeah, October 22nd. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have the time again?
It's gonna be from.
Or is that TBA?
No, it's gonna be. It should start at 1 and then finish at 6 is what we agreed on last time. So.
All right, cool. So you guys we'll send more info out on that. And I know that John will want to get that out to everybody as well. So we'll get that out to everybody so everybody knows about it. And again, a great learning opportunity for you guys.
Yeah, and then just the last thing too is, I know a lot of GCLA guys are in school and everything like that, and so with learning like interviews, and I heard you guys just talk about recruiting, which is awesome because that was actually like my favorite part of being in management. But you have so much going on during the week that the shows being on the weekends. I mean, if you can, time it or if you can put it in schedule right. I mean, it's on Saturday or Sunday, and now you're able to just sell on a weekend. The great thing about shows is you're able to pitch to about 7 to 10 people in one day while you're like stationed in one area, versus having to drive around a lot throughout that one day. So it does help. I mean, we've got shows down in Corpus coming up for anybody who's down in the Corpus area, right? We've got shows like around College Station. We finish a show up in Lufkin that's probably as close to Nacogdoches as we've been to in a long time. So it's really exciting because you can join the events team, work a show like that, and just build more locally for yourself. It's like just saying, but October 22nd, I mean, the more people we have there, the more it'd be awesome, just because I really want to get to know you guys a lot better. I've met a few of you already, and I'd love to be able to help you just grow within Cutco.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Moses. Appreciate it, dude.
Problem.
I'm super excited for what's building over there. Any questions for Moses?
Hey Mo, when is the next events training going to be? I know we just have one after ST2. Is the next one going to be all the way in January?
It's right now. If anybody hasn't joined if anybody wasn't at the Fair and Show training at, I think it was it SC2? Yeah. We're going to have another one. It probably will be in January just because we're so busy from this point. So it's like end of the year. It's kind of hard to actually make time for that. But the cool thing about, and that's why I'm saying, if you guys come to the Fair and Show meeting on October 22nd, we actually can go ahead and start like finding out who's really serious about it and being able to maybe even do like a smaller Fair Show training just for like that group of people that is really interested. So that's something that we've been looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Wait, Mo, real quick. When does mall schedule come out?
Mall schedule is going to be coming out in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, and it's literally from Black Day till like December 28th, and we're in malls.
Any new ones?
As of right now, no. We've 5 for sure, just so you guys know. So we're gonna have a booth for about 30 days. inside of the Woodlands Mall, a booth at the Baybrook Mall for 30 days. And just so you know, like last year we sold $87,000 worth of Cutco at Baybrook Mall, and that was on a 15-day contract. So we're hoping to be able to double that with another 2 weeks. And then we're also going to be at Katie Mills, at at the one in College Station, and then the fifth one right now looks like we're going to be at
Deerbrook.
I don't know if I think it's going to be back at Deerbrook. Yeah. So yeah.
Thanks. Love the haircut.
When's the next
Thanks.
shift picking?
On the 22nd.
So that's going to be at our next Fair and Show meeting on the 22nd. Yeah. Now we've got shifts available before then, Mike, and I'm going to be reaching out to you, Lauren, and Jay Martinez about that, since you guys were interested on some of the other shows that we have coming up.
Mhm.
Sweet, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, we'll send that out. All right, awesome. Thank you, Mo.
All right, no problem, guys. Thank you for having me, Kathy. And it's a sharp looking bunch that you got, by the way. So
Yeah, they're pretty good looking. Ryan's like, I'm here too. All right. So let's go back. We've got about 10 more minutes before Dr. Hope joins on. So let's go back to this list that we were going through to get it extensive. So again, a lot of the passive recruiting is, you're going to do a little bit of active work finding the things, like something that I did was I paid for an ad in my branch to be put on pizza boxes, Hungry Howie's. And I got recruits from that. So it was like $25 and like they put it on all the pizza boxes and it was like cheap pizza that all the college kids bought. And so you can just look into things. People have done college newspapers can be really cheap. High school, if they have like a newspaper or a yearbook ads or, but it's just like any kind of ads that you can get out there. So can you make a list of what are all different places that, your target market, 17 to 25-year-olds, could be where we could put, ads and more, by the way. And we have our young professionals. We want people who are in their 30s to 60s who want to do a career. And whether it's a career in sales and working with our realtor program, as a Cutco sales professional, as a closing consultant, as a district manager, like we want people that want to be here long term. We do know that 75% of our workers are temporary students using this as a stepping stone to gain certain skill sets, right? But then we have our professionals, which keeps growing that group, which is really exciting as well. So thinking about those things. So you guys, something you can make a note. I'd love for you guys to make a list. So this is an assignment from now until our next prep, which our next prep is Tuesday the 8th. All right. Which you guys already have in your calendar. So normal day, Tuesday the 8th. Everyone needs to submit a list of everything you could think of. And by the way, you could do it for your current territory that you're in, whether you're in College Station, in Memorial, wherever. But just making a list and ask around. I want you guys to do some homework before I'll just like give you the answers to start looking, because some of you guys will come with some cool stuff too that we can share. But make a list of what are all the passive things that we could do, set it and forget it type things, where that we can put ads to get word out there about jobs available. Cool. Then we have active recruiting. All right. So on the active recruiting, and again, we want to get really specific with this stuff as well, like as specific as possible. But I had here, and I love that, let's see here. Alex said sending out emails. Michael said whiteboarding. Alex said putting cards on bikes, and just think about like, what are all the places, and you guys can make a list. What are all the different places where you can hand out cards? Cool, specific places that you can hand out cards. I want you guys to get a list of that put together. All right. And again, there's 3 different forms of really active recruiting that's happening. because you have your like cards, you have campus recruiting, right? And there's all different forms of campus recruiting, including cards, all right? But there's other parts of campus as well. There's off-campus recruiting and things that we can do off campus, all right? And then there's social media recruiting, and then PRs, which I didn't put in, but like our PR program, that's an active program, and there's different components of that. So what are things we could do for PRs? What are things that we could do on social media? I want a list of specifics. What are things that you could do off campus? What are things that we can do on campus? All right. And anyone want to share a couple examples? You know, maybe there's somebody who's like, I don't really get it. Like, what's an off-campus example of things that we could do? Anybody?
Movie theater.
Cool. Movie theater. All right. Concerts, bowling alley, right? So look at those things. Make a list of like, what are all the different places that are not school, where you could get word out to a lot of the target market. Okay. So
Haunted houses.
Huh?
One that's coming up is haunted houses.
Ooh, yeah. That'll be big in October, for sure. So that's something that we want to work on so we can get you guys set on a good path. See Erica real quick. So that is a list. And by the way, this is just you guys learning. It's like when you go to a territory, like, how do I get recruits? How do I get people, right? And so there's other layers of like, how do we get recruits? If there was an office there before, you know, there's being able to go back to old reps that are from that area, you know, people that worked there in the past, and whether they want to work or not, you know, being able to meet people through them. But then there's also the different components of, you're like, all right, I'm going to this new area, starting now to ask people, hey, who do you know in this area? Like and this will start for most of you guys in January. There are some of our guys who already have an idea of where we're going, and make sure to lock that in with me before you start doing a bunch of work. And then I'm like, you're not going there. So you need to make sure to talk to me first about stuff. But, you know, definitely in January, that's something you guys are going to start asking people, like, hey, who do you know who lives in blank area? So when I found out, my branch office was 4 hours away from where I went to school and lived. All right. And I started asking, hey, who do you know? Who knows someone from Sarasota or Bradenton? Who knows someone from Sarasota or Bradenton? It was like across the state. And then one of the guys that went to my college was like, oh, I'm from there. Like, my family's there. And I was like, oh, awesome. And so he let me do a demo for his parents. By the way, that helped me get leads over in that area, which during SC2, I sold 15K, making 50% commissions, which was very nice. All right. I actually did it in 2 days. But that was through his parents' leads. All right. His parents bought like $170 from me. But the leads that I got from there, the neighborhood they lived in is my favorite neighborhood, East Lake. That some of you guys have heard my story where I sold 15 grand in 2 days, going from like house to house and not knocking on doors. Like, I got all these leads to these people and loaded up. It was awesome. All right. But he also gave me some of his friends from high school. And Lauren Bradley sold 40 grand my first summer. And she was one of his really good friends. And so I got, she's the only one that really stuck. Got a couple who came in and gave leads, but then Lauren gave PRs, others. But that helped me get somebody when I was there, you know. And there was one other person at my school that had a cousin who lived in that area, you know. So we'll just start asking questions and finding out, hey, who do you know, who's in this area? Because that's going to help build as we get closer to that time. And then again, all of the different things we can do on social media, all the things we can do with PRs, off campus and on campus. All right. So tomorrow I'm actually flying to Dallas in the morning, and I'm meeting with 14 other of the best minds around the PR program, and people that I've worked with for many, many years, people that I taught the PR program to. The original guy who started it, actually the guy who hired me, was his pilot, like how Roman is my pilot. Jonathan Hoffenberg was Scott Dennis's pilot manager back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And he came up with this program. He's the guy who hired and trained me. So I grew up under the person who started this. And so it started out of Scott's office. And Scott is helping lead this program nationally. I started with them 7 years ago. And so we're going to be getting some of the best people tomorrow and the veterans, and I had posted, and we have like Ben Jackson and Brian Hurlman and Dane Espegard and Trey Ketchum and some of the like biggest shippers and biggest minds around this coming together to talk about the evolution of this program, because it's evolved and the world we live in now is just different, you know, than it was before. And we know that. We know that a lot of kids don't talk on the phone or have their friends' phone numbers. They just all talk on like Snapchat or wherever, you know. And so we know there's different changes. And we want to talk about how are we helping our people, our new offices maximize when they open up, when they start up. And then, by the way, it's not just about next summer. Everything we're learning, how are we putting it into play now? Cool. How are we putting it into play now? Because there's one thing is having knowledge, and that's like conceptual knowledge, you know? And like once you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I know it. Or like I've practiced it with my teddy bear. Okay, great. It's different when you actually go do it and you're like, oh shit, this is different than when I did it with my teddy bear. Yeah, it is. And so there's different things that come up. And so you guys actually getting a chance to execute and do it, and not just, I think about you, Ken, not learn about how to talk to people, what to say, how to run it, but like, what can you do each week at Lee College to help recruit 1 or 2 people that comes to training that week, right? Through conversations you have in the cafeteria, people that you talk to, using, as you guys make this list, like doing the different things and saying, oh, we're going to put an ad here. Hey, we're going to go do this, and actively putting it to work. There's a different level of confidence that you gain as a manager that you go, oh, I've done it. And not just I've done it, but like I've done it and gotten recruits. Like I know that I can repeat, this is duplicatable. Like I can do this in my own office. And there's a different level of confidence that comes from that, instead of like, I saw Roman do it. How come it's not working? You know, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. You know, like, let's fix it now. Let's do it. Let's fix it. Because people think, oh, you just go talk to people and they come in. No, some people oversell the job and people don't come in. Some people understand they're really awkward and people don't come in. And so it's learning that the dance in the middle and that line, and where people feel comfortable, they feel connected to you, you know, they want to come in. This is a learning curve, and people don't understand this. And I don't know, you know, John, Roman, anyone who's on the call of our veterans, if you could speak to that of, you know, the difference between just like, oh, you know it, and then when you do it, like, it's just different, you know. There's people who are like Roman, recruited a crap ton of his friends who are PRs, like, well, why haven't you done the same thing? Or someone else is like, well, I had a bunch of friends, but they didn't come in. Well, you talked about it a little bit differently, you know, like there's something was off, and that's where we lost people. So it's like learning that and saying, hey, what did you say, what to say, what not to say? All right. There's both of those things. What's too much, you know, you get super hype and they think you're just kind of like weird and brainwashed. You know, where's that line of just like super chill? Just like with Miss Jones, you're not like, oh my God, you gotta see these knives, they're so great, you're gonna love it. You're gonna reduce the amount of demos you get, versus being like, oh yeah, I'm sure you probably have tons of kitchen stuff. I get paid just to do it. And then when she sees it, she's like, what? You know, well, it's the same thing with the job. When you're selling the job, it's a downplay of like, oh yeah, like we're pitching this stuff like, oh, it's super flexible, great school perks, like, hey, we'd love to just see if it's a good fit for you, see if it's a good fit for us, and you know, we'll go from there. And versus, you know, being super needy or whatever it is. So yeah, I don't know if you guys want to say anything. I know Dr. Hope just jumped on, so we can share some stuff afterwards. Yeah, I'll throw there. All right. I'm super excited. Let me get her on here. There she is.
There we go. Hey, beautiful.
Hey, beauty. All right. So, guys, I want to introduce you guys, and I'll put her up here in a second, to Dr. Jamie Hope. And Dr. Hope, I can't even try to tell you like all the different committees and all the things that
you don't want to know,
because there's like a gazillion. But I will tell you, she works. She's the ER physician at one of the busiest level 1 trauma centers in the country. She's dual board certified physician, assistant professor. She teaches resilience, confidence, healthy habit creation, and maintenance. And she actually just published her first book. But she works on so many different boards. That's such a huge heart. And like when I first met her, just absolutely fell in love with just her energy, her love for people, for serving, for helping people be at their best. She literally serves on like a gazillion different committees. One of them that really stuck out to me when I heard that she was a big part of like human trafficking task force and really helping with that. And just really is passion making, you know, this world better. And so she speaks all over the nation. She's a keynote speaker invited lecturer across the country on different things with medical work, health related topics, as well as the stuff for her different boards. And she helps with corporate retreats, with workshops, but just so knowledgeable. And I was sharing with them, you know, Jamie, you get to see so many people. Spencer was.
Oh, hey, Spencer.
You know, Dr. Hope, you know, speaks all over. But I was sharing that, you know, so many of these, I love too, is that beyond just, you know, she works in the hospital, but she's also an entrepreneur and understands, you know, that side of things and works with so many entrepreneurs and people who are constantly on the go. And this group is a lot of young entrepreneurs, you know, who are training right now to run their first businesses, you know, some their second or third business. And one of the things we talked about, you know, Dr. Hope, is just the health, the importance of energy as we go on this mission, you know, to like conquer the world and do all these incredible things, and the importance for us of really, you know, being at our best for that. And so I'm so excited to have you talk about this. And her book is called Habit That, and I'm really stoked to have her share her thoughts around this, because you hear a lot of things. And again, what she's sharing, you can use for health, but also in different areas of your life, you know, and getting better at habit creation and resilience, and really being able to get to where you want to be, you know, setting goals and being able to achieve them in all areas of your life, not just your health. So anyway, Dr. Hope, I'm going to hand it to you. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Obviously, you all know that Kathy is amazing and an awesome person to learn from. So I'm really excited to get to be a part of this. So I do teach a ton of entrepreneurs, and that's actually a group that I speak to quite a bit. I spent the last 13 years studying human health and behavior change, in addition to my day job of working in an emergency department. So I've had a lot of practice at this. And so the same issue, Kathy is totally right. The same habits you use for your health, that same pathway, is you can use that to create a habit for anything. Getting business, making calls, making leads. It's human behavior. We're a little more predictable than we like to think that we are. So once you kind of understand it and own it and know how to use those principles for behavior change, sky's the limit. You can change anything. And that's what I get so excited about. So Kathy knows that in my primary job in the emergency department, I see people on the worst day of their life all the time. And what happens is I see so many people that what they are suffering from and what they're struggling with could have been prevented with some upstream healthy habits. Now, you guys are young and you have so many opportunities to conquer the world, but the health habits that you create now are going to stick with you, and you're going to carry those forward. The same as the business habits. Are you saving? Are you building wealth? Or are you just spending all the money that you have? Those are habits. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you getting, nourishing food and energizing exercise and restorative sleep and stress release and meaningful connections? Or are you burning the candle at both ends because you feel like you have something that you have to, a specific trophy that you need to achieve? And what I teach people, and then, Kathy and I talked, we're going to kind of bounce back and forth interview style, and I'm very open to questions. But my mantra, and that I'm always teaching people, the reason I'm so passionate about this, you can only be killing it in business for so long if you are killing yourself to do it. So, all right, Kathy, how do you want to do Q&A, baby?
Sure, there she is. So what are some of the things that are most common that you see that cause burnout in entrepreneurs?
Yes. So burnout is a huge thing. And we talk about that a lot in the physician world. It's interesting that our journeys are kind of similar. Working in an ER is a lot like working as an entrepreneur, except hopefully your job is a little less bloody. But it's one of those things that things are coming at you at a constant speed, because as an entrepreneur, you're not just checking in, you're not punching in, punching out at the end of the day and being done. Your business is your responsibility. It's your life. It's your ownership. So as much as I love to talk about all the healthy stuff.
Dr.
Yeah?
Oh, sorry. The internet connection was cutting out. So go ahead.
Oh, All right, am I better?
Yes.
I'm actually trying to be right by my Wi-Fi booster just in case. So, diet and exercise, people always have questions about that. And there's a billion books about that. But what I see, what really leads to burnout is that people are not taking care of their stress release and their sleep. So I've seen people that are like, I swear I eat nothing but, kale and healthy fats and protein, and my biceps are, the size of Popeye, and I still am stressed to the max and feel exhausted. So of all the things that I get asked to speak about, it's interesting that stress release and the sleep are the most asked about, because that's the thing, as entrepreneurs and hardworking people, we kind of suck at the most. And so burnout it happens when you lose your connection to your purpose for what you're doing, and you're not adequately taking care of yourself and giving your body the reserve it needs to reach these huge goals that you set for yourself. But the good news is that's fixable.
And what would you say are some of the actionable things to help someone move forward from that?
Ooh, I love action items. So I've done a ton of motivational talks, and I'm kind of over that in terms of, it's nice to get people inspired, but I'm a big believer in the what next. So as an ER doc, I'm pretty practical. So let me have a kind of a mini rant about stress here. All right. So stress is a necessary part of our life. Your bicep needs the stress of a weight in order to grow. You need the stress of experience and education in order to become an expert at what you're doing. But what I invite you to recognize is, because a lot of what we've been told about stress is BS. It's this, horrible monster that's always going to kill you, but that's not always true. It's how you look at stress and how you use it that matters. So the number one thing I teach in a short couple lessons about stress is a tool. Stress is a tool. And just like any other tool that you use in your life, how you use it can make a difference. Okay, so picture this. Imagine that you've got a very sharp table saw in your garage. Just like that, it's a tool. So if you learn how to use it and read the instruction manual, learn from some experts, you can use that tool to create some beautiful, wonderful, amazing things. But if you have no idea how to use the tool, then you're probably going to end up cutting off some digits and end up in my emergency department. So just like anything else, I love to invite people to have the mindset that stress is a tool. It's not the thing itself that breaks you down, it's how you wield it that makes a difference. So I like to teach people how to, so you can use your stress to your advantage, but once you're finished with that, you need to do what I call empty your stress. And so that's an acronym, EMPTY. So we're going to go through that real quick and talk about ways that you can empty your stress. So when you're wielding stress as a tool, you get to use it to your best advantage. All right. Are you ready? So the E stands for, ready? All right. E is for eliminate. There are things, there are people, there are processes, there are things in your day that you absolutely can eliminate. A good friend of mine, her biggest paying client was also causing 90% of her stress and anxiety, and was just a huge pain in the butt. And she was so worried she couldn't eliminate this person because she's like, oh no, what do I do for income? But once she, appropriately and professionally ended that relationship, it just helped get rid of all this stress off of her chest. And then she was able to get out there, find multiple clients who were better paying, better suited for what she was doing. There are things you can eliminate. I pay someone to clean up dog poop in my yard. I pay some teenager $12 and she goes around and cleans up all the dog poop in my yard, which is great because then I can be using that time for something more effective and a little less stinky. So truly, if you list out all of the stuff that you do, a lot of it's busy work. And I'm guessing that there are things that you can eliminate that you do not need. Also, that applies to toxic people in your life. Not everybody necessarily needs to or deserves real estate in your brain if they're causing you a lot of problems. So step one toward taking ownership and control over your stress is make a list and see what you can eliminate. All right, M. So step two, the M in empty is minimize. There are some things and people that you cannot completely eliminate. unfortunately. So what can you do to minimize your time with them, your exposure to them, anything that you kind of have to do that? I had a very toxic person in my life, unfortunately, for reasons I won't go into, couldn't get rid of them completely. But by minimizing my time with that person and making sure I was going into any encounter, as well rested and healthy as possible and coming out of it with some good stress relief, makes it a lot more tolerable. So anything that you can't truly eliminate, I want you to see how you can minimize it. All right, we doing good so far? And this is homework. I'm an assistant professor, so I officially get to give you guys homework. This is what I want you to do.
Can you repeat the acronym one more time? The eliminate what?
Oh, yep. So eliminate. So empty is the word we're using. And so E in empty is for eliminate and M is for minimize. All right. Are you guys ready for P?
Yep.
All right. P is people. We need incredibly meaningful connections in our lives. We're not meant to live as solitary beings. But I do think it's important to be mindful of who you allow in your life. And so this is another one to write down. And I'm happy to send document of all this if that's easier, but I see y'all taking notes. There are a group, 5 different types of people that I want you to have in your life. And under each of these 5 categories, there should be multiple people who fit this bill in a lot of circumstances. So this is based on the Tracy Sanson principles. So people, 5 different groups of people. All right. Group number 1 are the people that you are learning from, the people that light the way for you and are showing you and teaching you awesome things. These are your mentors. These are your coaches. This is Kathy. These are amazing people in your life. It might be authors who you read their books, people you listen to podcasts. You don't have to know them in real life. And they could be historical figures even. But group number 1 of the people you need in your life are people who you're learning from, who are lighting the way for you. All right. Group number 2 is a fail friend. This is essential. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the entrepreneurial journey can be kind of hard. Has anyone felt that yet? Has anybody ever had something go wrong? Right? Yeah, I'm like, I see some hands. So yes, things are going to go wrong. You're going to try and set up an appointment and it's going to go down in flames. You're going to do a launch of something and it's not going to be what you expect. That's okay. That's a normal part of the journey. But I think the biggest problem with social media and all that stuff is we're always putting on this amazing, happy, smiley face. Like everything is so perfect and my business is great. And that's fine if that's what you want to put to the world. But you need at least one person, if not more than one, that you can go to and say, holy crap, things suck really hard right now. And I just need to talk about it. So this is that person or people that you can be super open and honest and authentic with, because that is so, so important.
What did you call them? Your what friend?
Your fail friend. Not just the person who will celebrate your wins, but the person who's going to be there for you when things are going wrong. Your fail friend. All right. So group number 3, this is your tribe. So tribe is key, and you need to have more than one. You can have your work tribe, your family tribe, your golf buddies, your mastermind tribe. It's that group that you go that you feel a sense of connection and belonging. Because like I said, we're not meant to be solitary beings. So a healthy person has multiple tribes in their life. So that's really important. So who are your tribes? All right, number 4, who would take a bullet for you? Not who would you take a bullet for? The question is, who would take a bullet for you? This is a huge barometer for how you are showing up in your relationships. The entrepreneurial life is busy, but if you're neglecting and abandoning all the people in your life, this is a huge way to recognize that. If there's nobody there that would be willing to help you when the chips are down, you need to start showing up better in your relationships. All right. And number 5, these are the people you are lighting the way for. No matter where you're at in your journey, you can be helping somebody else along the way. You have knowledge, you have support, you can mentor somebody, you can encourage somebody. You can write an article, you can do something. So it's who are you lighting the way for? So those are the 5 groups of people that I think it is essential to have in a healthy life.
What was group number 1?
Group number 1 is the people that are lighting the way for you. Those are the people that you're learning from. All right, we're almost through empty.
Dr. Hope, quick question.
Yes, absolutely.
Do all these groups have the same amount of time, or do they have variance in time?
Absolutely, tons of variance. There's variance in the number of people, variance in the number of time, because you can't necessarily allocate your time equally for all of those things. But it's just to make sure that you have people on each of these lists and that you are maintaining those relationships. And some weeks are better than others. Some weeks you get a little bit more time with your tribe. Some weeks you're grinding hard and you can't. But just keeping those groups of people in your life long-term is the key.
Are they in any order? Like if you're planning out your week, what are you always like, let's say, obviously maybe some weeks you can't have one portion of your tribe. Like what, do you have like an order or process that you go through?
No, it kind of depends on my week. So there's the step back and look at the big picture. If you look at my year, there's probably a lot of equality, but then there's times where it's, a day or a week where it's not equal. So when I was at the GoBundance Women's Mastermind, that week was all about tribe. And then I have fail friends there also, and people I learned from that are lighting the way for me. So that's great. Sometimes you can get multiple at once. But it's even with health, like with food and exercise, I think the day-to-day is less important than the big picture. And same thing with this group of 5. So when you're planning out your schedule, look at what is going to be my priority this week and how do I need to connect? And if you see there's one of these groups that over the long term you're consistently not connecting with, that's just a great reminder to help you get back into balance. All right, are we ready to go back to empty? Okay. So E was eliminate, M was minimize, P were the people, T. And this one is for thankfulness. How many of you guys, and I'm going to kind of have to flip through because I'm on my phone. How many of you guys have a gratitude practice? Put your hand up. Okay. For real, or is that like just something that you want to say on the phone? Okay, I know. Honestly, a lot of people say they do. I'm like, show me your gratitude journal. Okay, so having gratitude in your life is incredibly, incredibly important. So I'm all about healthy habit creation and maintenance, and this is one of those habits. If you get into something as simple as a habit of at the end of every day, writing down 5 things or people you're grateful for. It's very simple. It'll take you just minutes. Not only do you get in the habit of remembering your day and the good parts, it also triggers your brain because your brain loves a question. If you give your brain a question, it will continue to work on it. So by doing this as a regular habit all day long, you will train your brain to start looking for things to be grateful for. And they've done numerous studies I could nerd out on, but I won't bore all of you guys, that having a very active, connected daily gratitude practice actually increases your health and your happiness. So you're happier and you're less likely to have a heart attack with something as simple as just writing down 5 things a day that you're grateful for. By the way, Kathy, today I'm grateful for you.
Love you.
Love you. All right, we're almost done with empty, and then we can play around with some more questions. Why is you time? And this is hard to explain to young people because I see you guys in the ER and y'all think you're invincible. You guys don't come in to get medical care and you're like kicking and screaming against your will. But here's the thing, self-care isn't selfish. You might be invincible now, but these things do add up. I know I see some biceps, there we go. So I talk about the pillars of health, and I kind of alluded to that earlier. But imagine a 4-legged table. And on this table is everything that you hold dear. Your dreams, your ambitions, your goals, your abilities, your connections, your family, your friends, everything is piled on this table with 4 legs. And those legs are what you eat, how often you exercise, how you're sleeping, and how you're releasing stress. Or as I like to shorten it, eat, sleep, burn, release. Now imagine a four-legged table. What's going to happen to the table if I knock out one of those legs? For most of y'all, that's sleep, by the way.
Hold on real quick, Jamie.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the connection.
Did we lose
went
that?
out, but I just want to make sure you said, yeah, eat, exercise, sleep, and release stress.
Yep. Eat, sleep, burn, release.
We can-
Okay. So I was looking over there because my dog is trying to bust into my room here, my podcast doggy friend. Okay. So when you're looking at those, and I'll take any questions. We can dive into any of those four areas. It's my favorite stuff to talk about. But you knock out one of those table legs, like you're not getting enough sleep, and that table's going to get wobbly. You knock out more than one of those, and eventually everything's going to come crashing down. That's how I see people in a one-size-fits-nobody gown in my emergency department having the worst day of their life. So if you look at your own table, which one or more of these table legs are you neglecting? And then it's very easy to set up healthy habits around improving that. And it's the same habits and goal setting tools that you can use for anything, including business. All right. So that's empty, and we can dive into anything of that you want, but that was eliminate, minimize, the people, the thankfulness, and the you time. And when you focus on this and empty the stress out of your life, you're going to be substantially more successful. Think of how much easier it is to go to meetings and make sales calls and do presentations when you're not exhausted and stressed to the max. That makes a difference.
Can we touch on minimize real quick one more time?
Sure. Yeah, let's chat. So anything that you can't necessarily get rid of in your life, people, places, events, processes, things that you have to do, and how can you minimize your exposure to it? Like, imagine it like paying taxes. Most of us don't love it, but we try and just do that once a year. So, and if there's something specific, we can kind of practice it with you if you have some questions.
Nope, I was just curious.
Okay.
I missed
Yeah.
it last time.
For you time, you talked about eat, sleep, burn, and release. Could you
Yes.
kind of explain the difference between burn and release? Like what differentiates them, and then how do you kind of like manage them?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So with that's kind of like my clever abbreviation for the four, but burn is exercise and release is stress release.
Okay.
So that's the difference. Now for me, my exercise happens to also be a great stress release for me, but that's not necessarily the case for everybody. So when I look at my week, eat, sleep, burn, release, am I getting nourishing food? Am I getting energizing exercise? Am I getting restorative sleep? And am I getting stress release and getting all this stress? Because let's face it, like life is stressful, right, you guys? I mean, right? It's a thing. And we can't make that go away. But by releasing what comes into us and looking at yourself, learning that stress is a tool. How you wield it determines whether it'll build you up and break you down. And then after the stress happens, being able to have stress release to get rid of it. And so we can dive into some release ideas too, if that helps. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. I'm just hoping to.
What are some of your stress reliefs? I know that obviously it could be different for everyone. But what are some things that you have found that kind of relieve stress? Because I feel like once you kind of do things for a while in your life, they don't become stress relieving. They're like, oh, I really don't. I can't. Or like, for me, it's going outdoors. It rains every other day in Houston, so I really don't want to. That's not fun. So that probably causes me more stress. So what?
Yeah.
How do you find things that relieve you stress? Like, if that makes sense.
No, that's a great question. And that's part of the problem when you have a stress release activity planned and then something gets in the way. It is irritating and it just makes more stress.
Like it's like more stress, You're like, I can't even have fun.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this weather is crap. I have other stuff to do. Yeah, for me, getting outside is one of them. So a couple different ways that I handle this. First thing, so I'll teach you guys how to be a stress diagnostician. So oh, go ahead, Kath.
Oh no, we just where I'm at, our computer logged out, so we've missed the last like 5 minutes. But I just jumped on my phone while my computer is rebooting. Go on.
Oh no, we can recap. So right now we're talking about ways to do stress relief, and we talked about how some activities can actually induce increased stress if it's irritating or if it seems like a chore or something gets in the way. So I start because I've got a ton of stress release activities. So, but first I start with as a stress diagnostician. Now, as a doctor, of course, you guys have to understand I'm like epic level nerd. So, but you have to, what I want you to do, and this is going to be different for each person. Where does stress show up in your body? For some people, it's the tension headaches. For some people, it's the jaw tightness and some teeth grinding, right? For some people, they get this lump in their throat. Some people get tightness in their chest. Some people get upset stomach, nausea. I have a friend who she can always tell when she's stressed because she gets diarrhea. TMI, but I'm a doctor. I'm used to talking about things like blood and poop. Or muscle tension in the shoulders or just sore all over. So first, before we're talking about releasing stress, you need to be aware of how your body manifests stress, because someone might ask you how you're doing and you're like, I'm fine, which you're clearly not fine. So recognizing where it is in your body is going to help you know how much you're having. And then imagine a stress scale, 0 to 10, 0 being zero stress, which I'm pretty sure I've never experienced in life, and 10 being the worst stress imaginable. So knowing where it is in your body and how strong it is going to help teach you how you can best release it. Now, you know how the body reacts when you're stressed, right? We get the fight or flight response. You're all familiar with that. Fight or flight, or fight, flight, or freeze. But so your body jacks you up with a bunch of adrenaline. Now, if you just Google stress relief, there's a lot of things like, meditation, essential oils, pretty scents, and petting a fuzzy bunny. However, when you're having a primal surge raging through your body and you're having stress, sometimes a fuzzy bunny is not going to cut it. So I always give people permission to decide based on your day and your moment and what's going on. You can choose whether you want to stress hard or stress soft. Soft is the stuff, the music, the meditation, do some yoga, some chill time, fuzzy bunny kind of stuff. But my job in the ER, as you can probably imagine, is not relaxing at all. I mean, when you've cracked open the chest of a human being, sewed up their heart and brought them back from the dead, like that's not relaxing. There's no like, let me just go home and chill, right? It's not. And so sometimes that I need that middle step in between having the stress and the fuzzy bunny. So I teach people that it's okay and it's natural and it's normal to stress hard. And so this is one of my favorite things. So one of my ways that I like to stress hard is something called dish therapy. That means you get a cheap set of garage sale dishes and smash them to bits. I know it sounds crazy, but I have to tell you, it is incredibly satisfying to get that primal surge of energy out of you. It is, I can't even tell you how fun it is. So some people like to punch a punching bag, go for a run, go lift weights at the gym, do something like that. It's that same kind of primal thing. And sometimes that just doesn't work. And so some really brilliant entrepreneurs have created smash shops. So you can go in, pick your weapon. What do you want, a bat? You want a golf club, whatever. And you just get to go into a room, break a bunch of stuff, and then they clean it all up. And then it's brilliant. And it's a good way to get that raw, super stressed energy out of you. And then you can relax and chill and go pet a fuzzy bunny. Another alternative to do at home is get a racket, something like a tennis racket and a pillow, and you can just whack the pillow. As a doctor, though, I have to tell you, there's just a couple of rules if you're going to stress hard. Number one, don't break anything that doesn't belong to you. That's not okay. Number two, don't break something irreplaceable. And number three, please, if you're going to do dish therapy, which is super fun, please wear eye protection, because I assure you that having a piece of cheap dishes in your eyeball is going to do nothing to decrease your stress. But with those parameters aside, by all means, life is hard, y'all. Like there's some crazy stuff that happens, and it's perfectly okay to go with our natural, normal human instincts and release the stress in whatever way it makes sense to you. So when people ask me what my stress release strategies are, I'm like, I've got a list of about 57 different things. And I pull it up in my head and decide which one is going to fit my mood, my time, and my situation in that day and that moment. And it is totally okay to honor that about yourself. It's getting a lot darker in here. Let me try and turn around and face the light. There we go.
I know that we're getting towards the end of our time with you, but I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to share like your process for creating habits. If we could hit that real quick, and then
yes. Yeah, absolutely. And as Kathy had said earlier, this process can be used for any habit. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be about broccoli. I just happen to like healthy stuff because being a doctor and all. So the quick rundown, and I have sheets that you can use for all these goal setting things. They're like free open access. I just give them away to people. So step one is picking your mindset. How do you label yourself? People want to always jump straight to the goal. But if you skip these steps, you're not going to be successful achieving it. And this is based on years of data. So if we're talking about healthy goals, if your mindset is, I'm a diet failure, I've done this a billion times, I'm an overweight person, you will act how you see yourself. So even in sales and in business, if you're like, I'm so uncomfortable at this, I'm awkward, I'm not a great salesperson, you will act consistent with how you see yourself. So sometimes before you even start the process of goal setting, you need to do a mental enema on all the BS thoughts that you have about yourself. And it's time to give yourself a label that's consistent with the goal you want to achieve. Rockstar salesperson, dedicated to the craft, healthy person. So mental enema, flush out all the BS, start with your label. Number two, next step is your why. How many of you guys have ever made a New Year's resolution? Well, okay, how many of you consistently stuck with it for the rest of your life? Exactly. We can't rely on motivation because motivation is fickle. It wears off. I mean, some people are done with their New Year's resolution by the end of the day on the first day. A resolution, when you do it like that, it's really more like a wish than an actual resolution. And Zig Ziglar talks about that. So before you choose a goal, I want you to declare your why. And I do an activity with people called the 12 reasons. What is the goal that you want? Whether it's make $1 million in sales this year or, become a consistent exerciser or run a marathon. It doesn't matter what the goal is. I invite you to write 12 reasons why you want this goal. And the first couple are usually the kind of crap and BS that you tell other people, right? It's like, as a doctor, patients tell me, oh yeah, it's because I want to improve my cholesterol and my blood pressure. I'm like, nobody does. Nobody cares about that enough to stay motivated, because if that was enough of a motivator, nobody would be overweight. There'd be no health problems. But when you get down to something, like I had a patient tell me he was on a flight and he had to ask the flight attendant for a seatbelt extender. And he was so humiliated. He's like, that's it. That was that moment that he decided. I've had people mid heart attack in the ER make their decision. And I've had people something simple, like I had one of my female patients tell me for the first time in her adult life, she just wants to be comfortable enough in her body to have sex with the lights on. So it's not the why that you tell other people, because that's not what's going to keep you motivated. But whatever it is, whether it's your sales record, your health, anything, the real deep why, the one that you're kind of covering up your paper because you don't want other people to see, that's the thing that's going to keep you motivated. Does that make sense? So you got to get your mindset in the right place. Then you got to get your why deeply in place. Next, we got to overcome some barriers. This is another easy activity you can do at home with a blank piece of paper. So you set a timer for 5 minutes and you must go the entire 5 minutes. Whatever your goal is. So say it's to exercise 3 times a week or to make 10 sales calls a week, whatever it is. Okay, what is every possible barrier that could get in the way of you achieving that goal? Every barrier you can think of. Your car could break down. It could rain in Houston. You could hurt yourself. You could sprain your ankle. You could get bitten by a dinosaur. It doesn't matter. List every single thing that could possibly get in the way of your goal. Then part 2 of the activity is next to each thing that you listed that could get in the way of your goal, after you finish your 5 minutes, is you have to list what you're going to do if that happens. Does that make sense? So not only do you now have an action plan where you've overcome your own objections, now you've also trained your brain that every time you come against an obstacle, your brain is immediately going to switch to, what am I going to do about it? Once you get those things out of the way, the smarter process of setting a goal is almost too easy. It's almost an unfair advantage how good you're going to do at setting any of your goal. And the SMARTER acronym stands for specific, motivation, action items, timetable, those things. You guys have probably heard of the SMART system before. I kind of changed it a little bit myself for the SMARTER, but anything, that process, any goal, your goal is not the result. It's what you are going to do to get the result. Get as specific as possible. I'm going to call this many people on this day by this time. Super, super specific, action oriented, in the first person, have a timetable, have a way to record it. It's like magic. I'm telling you, this actually works. And I can send you, all of this stuff. The SMARTER goals, you can just fill it out however you want to do. Once you get those first 3 things in place, sky's the limit. All right.
Awesome. Huh?
Three. She gave stuff underneath, picking your mindset, the why.
You said 3 things or 4 things? We just want to finalize that.
Oh, sorry. So that's your mindset. So getting your label for yourself, getting your 12 reasons, and overcoming all your obstacles.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome stuff. And guys, any final questions while we have Dr. Hope here with you guys? And then I know she's great with responding if you're on Facebook or you have questions or social media, or you can ask me and I can chat with her as well. But any other questions you guys have?
Yeah. Hi. I as someone that I want to go into the healthcare field in the future, I wanted to ask how. I wanted to ask how are you able to manage one, your education, healthcare, then going on to work in healthcare alongside the rest of your life, entrepreneurship and all of your other goals and ambitions in life.
So that's awesome that you want to go into healthcare. We need dedicated, hardworking people. So yay. For me, the key was I didn't get to do it all at once. It didn't happen overnight. They say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. But when I was in medical school, that's like drinking from a fire hose, and there's not tons of time to do other stuff. Now, I've always been teaching and speaking since I was in middle school, so that's kind of been part of my journey. But then once I had the MD, once I had the years of experience and the cred, using all my other innate abilities and speaking and teaching experience, then I decided for me, my purpose was to help people upstream so they didn't end up where I was at. So I've really launched that over about the last 3 years. And so now it's amazing because I have 4 jobs, but they all connect and they're all awesome things I want to do. So there's so many. I wish my high school guidance counselor, they're like, you have to pick one job. I'm like, that's not a thing. I have 4 or 5. Like, that's ridiculous. So you use how do you want them to connect if they even need to? And then how are you going to connect it to your purpose? You can do anything. And it's amazing.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any last questions?
Dr. Hope, when
Yes.
things don't go your way on a daily basis, how do you get yourself back in focus? And then last question is, do you suggest any books to read?
Yes. Oh, yes. And yes. And yes. So yeah, things don't go my way a lot in the ER. It's hard because sometimes no matter what we do, even with the best resources and best care, we can't save everybody. And so it's what can I control in that moment? Sometimes, when there's 200 other people waiting to be seen, it's go in the bathroom for a moment, couple deep breaths, recenter and move forward. But I always need to get back to that releasing, that emptying that stress out. And for me, some of my biggest forms besides dish therapy is either exercising, getting outside and exercising, or spending time with my kids who are 5 and 7, because they see the world in such a beautiful way. And sometimes I just need to see it through their eyes and get that perspective shift. We can't always control a moment by any means, but we can control how we choose to respond to it in that moment. And sometimes I need to remind myself that in order to make it through whatever crazy shit's happening. And then books to read. Obviously, Kathy's book is amazing. So I would start there. Mine is specifically about healthy habits. So that's available, but it depends on my mood. I read about 50 books per year. And the way I consume most of them is on Audible, because I can do that while I'm outside hiking or doing the boring crap that we all have to do, like folding laundry. And so my range varies widely. I read Never Split the Difference by hostage negotiator Chris Voss, which I thought was a fantastic book. It was just really interesting, kind of perspective changing. I've read books like Daring Greatly by Brene Brown, actually all of her work. And when I needed to hear that moment, I like Willpower Doesn't Work by Ben Hardy. And that's another fantastic book, because it talks about how just like New Year's, that willpower isn't going to stay. I read nutrition books. I read inspirational books. I read books on how to deal with difficult people. So I mean, I could screenshot you guys my library. There's a lot of variation, but so I encourage you. I got in the habit of reading regularly a long time ago. They say that leaders are readers. Anything you're trying to do now has been done well by someone else. And so instead of you banging your head against the wall, you could just go through the open door. And so I encourage you, whatever it is, whatever fits your mood, definitely read it. But those are some of my favorites.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Hope. Appreciate
Love you.
And if anyone had any additional questions later or didn't get to say something here, what's the best way if someone wanted to reach out?
So a couple different ways, because everybody kind of has their favorite platform. So my website and my Twitter and my Instagram are all the same, just to make it easier. So you can go through any of those, and that's Dr. Hope Health. So DrHopeHealth. So Dr. Hope Health. On Facebook, I'm Jamie Hope, but thanks to my parents and the weird spelling of that, it makes it harder to find. So it's Jaime Hope. And then my Facebook group for people who are working on their habits is called the Habit That Tribe, which is the same name as the book. So lots of ways to reach me.
Beautiful. And I'll get that out so you guys have it if anyone wants to reach out.
Yes.
So.
And all those forms are free on my website. The 12 reasons, the barrier exercise, the goal tracking, the smarter goal. It's all free. You don't even have to submit your email. I'm just giving it away. So it's there.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
See ya. All righty. Well, I know we ran a little bit over there. And we have our next guest who's on right now. Mr. Doan, are you okay with a 2-minute quick break before we go?
For sure. No problem.
Thank you so much. All right. So if you need to use the restroom or anything, this is your time to shine. Go, go, go. And then we'll start.
Roman, can you use this time to talk about your Team No Sleep adventures? Since we've also been seeing you, I want to hear them.
Classified information. No, I'm just kidding.
How was the point ride?
It was pretty sick.
How big? Did y'all go to like Laredo or anywhere? Or just
We
tour
flew all over
McAllen?
like McAllen and like kind of like surrounding cities.
Dude, what was that one house that like had
Alonzo Cantu. He owns like almost everything in the valley.
15,000 square feet, right?
That's just his main home. He also has a guest home that's like 9,000, but that's just his ranch. That's not his actual in the city home.
Oh my gosh. Does he want some cocoa for one of those houses?
Andre Lee is his rep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually one of Nick's friends, believe it or not.
Which one of whose?
Nick is friends with him, like
Nick
personally.
knows- I feel like he knows everyone though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy. How's his gym in his house?
Oh my gosh, dude, it was so cool.
Did you do that upside down thing? Like where you like stay like yeah, I want to get one of
The
those.
way he has it set up is he has like his bedroom, and then in his bedroom actually is his sauna. It's in his bedroom. And then like the teeter-totter is like also in his bedroom. And then there's like a glass door, and he's so smart about it. He put a glass door. It's like when he like wakes up, he's looking through the door at the gym, like, oh, I gotta get up.
That's so oh,
And he has like natural skylights in the gym. It's honestly so cool.
damn.
He has a jacuzzi in the gym. Those bars across the top are like, honestly, they look so much lower on the videos, but like in person, I was like, I don't know if I can jump up there. Like they're really high up, and he's like 1 inch taller than I am. I was like, dang.
What because he's a big runner and cycle, right?
Yeah, he runs forever.
Yeah.
I mean, like he'll literally just run. He's like, yeah, I'll do my circuit workout. He's like really into like not like hit like high interval or whatever. So he does lots of circuits, and then he'll just run for a long time.
Jeez.
He literally carries a he has a rock climbing wall in his gym.
I saw that. That was dope. I would so fall off. There wasn't someone in there. Just an old dead Asian hanging. To be going to the
All day long, because he's like, yeah, I do a lot of grappling, so I just carry this all day long, so it strengthens my forearms. I was like, oh my gosh.
Did you get a ride in the,
All
the crew
Hey,
car?
guys, we're gonna get rolling. All right.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Let me put here. Perfect. How do I? All right. So, for those who were here earlier, I shared briefly earlier that this is, and I'm really excited for this, is a very special guest for me because when I look back at my life and just the people who have helped shape and mold me at an early age, people who supported me and encouraged me even through dumb decisions and things I did. Like this was somebody that I always just looked up to in a huge way, and just who he was as a father, who he was as a, in his role and with the school as a coach, just as a human being, how he treated people, how he spoke to people. I was always in awe of that, and even as we found out we were having baby Benjamin, one of the first things I had spoken to Spencer, I was like, I want to see if, we can, and I talked to him about Mr. Doan. He's like, I'd love to get time to just chat with him. This is one of the most influential people for me. And one of the people that when you look at people and go, man, I'd love to be more like that. I'd love to, for my, my future sons and like anything that I can do to exemplify the type of leadership qualities that Mr. Doan has. And leadership, and we've talked about this, goes way beyond just, in an office or being a manager, right? Like I met people and they're like, well, I'm not going to own my own business. I'm like, leadership transcends everywhere. It's about being an incredible, you could be a leader in your home, right? With your family, a leader in your community, in your church, a leader in your business. And not because you're the owner or the boss, but just because you're a leader, someone people respect and looked up to, and want to listen to. And as far as, Mr. Doan, worked in the school with, all different ages in the school system, from universities, high schools. He's worked with all different types of teams, won many national championships, but has had over 40 years of experience in the leadership realm. And this is, when he received, his, degree. This is what he went and studied. And so for him, this is something that he's very passionate about. But he has a master's degree in organizational leadership. And so I had the opportunity to actually see him last week, and I was like, I'd love to have you speak, to our guys. And our program, our leadership academy, is about developing the best leaders out there. And I was sharing a little bit about you earlier, Mr. Doan. And, and I was like, hey, I have a couple books, the recommendations. I've got 7 pictures of 30 per page. But anyway, it's awesome. So I'm really grateful to have you here. Excited for you guys to get a chance to hear from him and learn from him as he shares, some of his wisdom and things that he's learned. He's an avid reader. I mean, Dr. Hope was just talking about how leaders are readers. And I couldn't, I don't know anyone who's read more books and, that I personally know, and really not just reads it and has the knowledge, but embodies it and lives it out and helps so many others do the same thing. So thank you again so much for being with us, Mr. Doan.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Wow, I sound impressive. I hope that is true. I was talking to Kathy to kind of figure out exactly where you're at and what your interests are and things like that. I think I would say this to start out with. It's important for you as you're beginning your whole career is to create a leadership philosophy. So you want to know what kind of a leader that you want to be. And there's all kinds of ways to do this and all kinds of things. And, a leadership philosophy would have really 2 elements to it. Basic beliefs concerning a particular subject, which of course, might be just leadership or whatever your business is. And then a set of values that you bring to that subject and figuring out a philosophy. So I was challenged at one point in my career to come up with a coaching philosophy. Hadn't really even thought about that. But if you don't have a philosophy on how you want to do things and run things, then I think maybe you kind of wander and maybe are making mistakes along the way. And then in doing that, I wanted to talk a little bit about habits that we want to create as a leader. And so this is something I read a long time ago. A guy by the name, you probably have seen this or heard it, Sean Covey. He wrote a book called The 7 Habits of the Highly Effective Leader. I use that information and I share it all the time with students. And because I think that these are great how-tos that you can apply in a leadership situation, whether it's, people define leadership as influence. So by that definition, everybody's a leader. We all have influence over somebody. And in this, so if we have a little bit bigger picture, I usually work with teams that maybe have 15 to 20 students, players, athletes, and this information helping them. So the coaches, the leaders on the team, if you want to be an effective leader on your team, here's some things that you have. And so in the order that I learned this and studied this, the first one is as a leader is to be proactive. And proactive is a little more than just taking initiative. It's accepting the responsibility for your behavior, making choices based on the principles and values that you have, being proactive. So not a leader who's sitting back and is quiet, but you're going out there, developing personal relationships with whoever those people are that you're involved in. And then being proactive to get to know them, being proactive to help them, learning about them. It's about those relationships, helping them not to be a victim because they're facing difficult things in life. Everybody seems to be, but proactive, going to meet them, developing a personal relationship, having that relationship so that when it's time to sit and talk, we feel comfortable with each other. We built an element of trust. What you say to me stays with me. What I say can stay with you, and we have that element of trust. And so I think that's an important one for us to start at. And then when we're dealing with issues maybe along the way in our leadership, the next habit is to begin with the end in mind. So while you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do in life, figure out what the end is that you want. And when you know what the end is, now we're going to go back and we're going to start filling in the blanks, and here's how we're going to do things. Instead of just trying all kinds of steps along the way, maybe your ending is that you want to own your own business. And so that's awesome. So then what do you have to do along the way to get there? And there's things you got to learn in school. There's things you're going to have to learn practically. There's things you're going to have to learn, how to start it, and, things that are probably legal issues, things like that to get it started. So figure out what the end is. And then you can go back to the beginning and start filling in those steps. So when I applied in the world of athletics, typically they would say, their goal, their end in mind is they want to win some kind of a championship. So, that's a great goal. Nothing wrong with that. But now we got to go back to square one and figure out what do you have to do to get there. We got to learn how to play that particular sport. We got to learn how to be good at certain things in order to accomplish that. And so beginning with the end in mind gives you a definite plan to follow and figure out what it is that you want to accomplish. Maybe you're dealing with an issue in your company right now. So what do you want to do with that? You want the end to be that we can work out a solution? What do you want the end to be? Now let's go back and figure out how we're going to get that done. And so following right along with that then is going to be to put first things first. I have my action plan in place. Here's where I want to get to. Here's all the elements I need. Now let's put them into proper order. So if we're trying to win a championship, then we're not going to start there. We're going to start with maybe showing up at practice, choosing a team that has talents and abilities to get things done, and putting those things in order. What's the first and then the second, and organize it in such a way that you can execute it and you can see that plan taking place. So I think when you have those first three habits, it's a good way to approach just things in life. A lot of times when we think about the word habit, we usually think of a negative connotation, I think, and usually we're thinking about bad habits, but these are good habits. So if we have bad habits in life, but we also have to create good ones. I read somewhere that it takes 21 days to create a habit in your life or to uncreate that habit in your life. And so we want to have some great habits as you're beginning, or whatever you are. Maybe some of you are far into this whole thing, but we want to create those habits in life and get those in order. And so those are kind of on a personal thing that you have to take care of in your life. And then when you're facing difficulties, and I think this is a really good one, that you can work on relationships with people and you're facing difficulties along the way, we want to think win-win. We don't want to be going into a situation thinking I have to win. We want to figure out a solution to a problem where we're both going to win. I think one of the most sought after things that bosses are looking for today is people who can resolve conflicts, people who can make decisions, people who can look at a problem and come up with solutions. It's not always hard to identify a problem, but it's sometimes very hard to create a solution. It's easy for us to look at and point at people and here's all the problems, here's all the problems, here's a problem in this company, here's a problem, but what are we going to do about it? And so thinking win-win. And then when it becomes involved in people, that's the harder part, to figure out what we're going to do to come up with a solution where we both kind of walk away. Maybe we don't agree, but we both are going to walk away with some satisfaction that we both kind of got our victory here. It's not about, and I know lots of people who all they care about is they have to win that argument. They have to win that battle. They have to win. And I'm not sure that it really accomplishes anything. And so we want to think win-win, a mutual benefit. There's win-lose, there's lose-win, there's lose-lose. There's all kinds of approaches here, but I think that one works real well. And so in order to accomplish that, habit number 5 is to seek first to understand and then to be understood. So that requires you being a listener. First, understand their perspective. But lots of people listen just to wait to give their opinion. They're not trying to learn. They're not trying to resolve a conflict. They're just waiting for that person to stop talking so they can say what they want to say. So we got to learn to be good listeners and understand the situation. And then for you to communicate in such a way that you can be understood. So if we can accomplish those, then we can probably come up with a win-win situation when we're facing some difficulties along in our leadership role. And you might go into a business where you inherit those things. Now you got to do some legwork and figure out what exactly is going on here, and not maybe with guns blazing, but let's figure out what we can do. And then we want to bring it to the next point is to synergize. So we want to work on this thing together. maybe we're facing a difficulty in our leadership and we don't agree on the solution, but we're going to work on this together so we can get this taken care of. You know, there's all kinds of reading. There's all kinds of books. Like Kathy said, she was taking a picture the other day on in my Kindle and all the books. There's a million of them. And I like reading them and I learn from them. And it's not hard to find information about that. But synergizing and learning to work together as opposed to trying to show somebody up and prove that you're the better and let's work on this whole thing together. You know, you're still going to be understood. You're going to be the boss in charge. You're going to be the leader. But I think that the people that work for you, the people that you're leading, are much more appreciative when they know that they're being heard. I mean, I know for me personally, and my bosses, I don't always agree, but when they sit down and listen to me, at least I feel like, you know, now I can deal with whatever they want to do, but at least listen to what I have to say. And so then we're going to start working this thing together and figuring out what to do. And all that's a lot of hard work. Not hard to write down, not hard to think of these habits, but it's a lot of hard work. And it doesn't come necessarily real easy. And so the seventh habit in this thing, Sean Covey referred to as sharpen the saw. And what he was talking about here is you got to have some of your own alone time, some of your own me time. You know, it can wear you out, it can exhaust you. And there's times where you just have to walk away and get away and stop and think. Maybe when people get angry, I feel like there's two ways we react. Sometimes we either blow up or we sit back and we shut up. I'm not sure either one is the best, but I think that's sometimes what we do. So walking away and having some me time, some time to refresh and refill the tank, some time to think this whole thing through and figure out what's going on. And so I think those are great habits to work on in your leadership. And typically when I'm teaching a class on this subject, I kind of start here. And we can come back to all kinds of case studies, all kinds of problems. And when we start applying these principles, then we start seeing solutions and how to take care of things. You know, we have to build an element of trust. People have to want to follow you because you have something to offer. And there's lots of different levels and kinds of leadership. But I think that the best kind is when we are serving other people and we have a relationship built with them. Then I can say the things I need to say without them being offended. And they can say the things they need to me, and the whole thing works out a lot better. So I've seen some real good successes and seen some great solutions to some difficult problems. And so I thought I would just throw those out there to you real quick. You know, he wrote a book on it. You can read through the book, and of course, it's a lot more in depth. I was just trying to give you a quick overview of what he wrote and what he had there, and I feel like that's real helpful. So, you know, I don't know what the next step is that you want to do, Kathy. There's another little topic, you know, that we can talk about here, but I don't know if you want to respond to that or give some thoughts.
Well, before you go into the topic, I'd love to. I mean, we've got so many young, you know, I guess, you know, new leaders in training. You know, like there's, we have, I mean, all ages that'll be listening to this. Some are on with us now, and but many who this notion of, you know, learning how to be a great leader, it's like, and all the teaching behind it is new to them. You know, they might have heard when they were younger, you should be a good leader, be a good example, or, you know. And my question is for you, I mean, this has been part of your life for 40 years. What do you like, what launched it in your life, and what were some of the first guidance? What was some of the first guidance you were given to help you start on that journey for somebody who's like, I really want to be a great leader? What would you respond to that?
Yeah, you know, I was just fortunate in life to have a couple of adult males that kind of saw something in me and spent some time with me to help me. I'm not sure that there's a particular thing that they taught me, but if you stop and think about who's the greatest leader that you could think of that's affected your life, and if you thought about that, who is that person? And maybe they're still in your life and they're still affecting. For me, it was a long time ago, but they set the example for me. I really wanted to learn to be the right leader. When I'm coaching, I'm always encouraging my athletes to be leaders, but it occurred to me a long time ago, I want them to be leaders, but they don't know what that means. And so then I had a real passion to teach leadership along with my coaching. I teach leadership in school, I teach those classes. And so it really became my passion in order to do that. So I had some mentors along the way, a friend or two in college, some adult as I was growing up that were just in my life, a family friend that had some real, whatever he saw in me, he decided that he needed to help me to grow and develop. And we need that. We all need that circle of friends. I've been fortunate to get to know a lot of real good coaches, names that probably if I mention them, you've heard of these guys. And one of the things that they always are encouraging is to have that circle of friends. And those are the ones, maybe it's 2 or 3. And they don't even have to necessarily, one of the coaches that I really have a lot of respect for coached in the NBA. A couple of his guys that are in his circle of influence have nothing to do with sports. They're just leaders. And he can bounce things off them and get a different perspective. And so you got to have that circle. I mean, we all need help sometimes. And we all need somebody giving us some information and what should I do here? And what do you think? And they've been through it and we can help. And I guess now just lots of years have gone by. And so I get an opportunity to help people. and I've really enjoyed that. But my answer is I had some people early in my life that took some special interest in me to help me. I didn't learn this stuff, but just to help me to understand there was some leadership ability maybe. And if we could develop it, then we could have some influence on people. And then I really desired to do that, to try to help others to learn how to be that kind of leader. Did you have something else, Kathy?
Sorry, I was talking and I was muted. I was saying, what do you, any tools that, so you said they saw it in you, and you're like, oh, and then it was developing it, right? So in terms of developing it, any things that you did to help develop and learn those skills?
Yes, yeah. Lots of people say that people are natural born leaders. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think maybe you have leadership abilities, but they have to be developed. And, I think the first thing that I remember learning was how to treat people. Some leaders, they rule with an iron fist and they don't care about people. They don't care about who they hurt or whatever. They just care about themselves. And, I just think that's a wrong approach. I don't think that, listen, I don't know. It depends what your goal in life is. My goal in life is not to go out and try to make millions of dollars. That's great if that's your goal. I have different goals and I have different thoughts in life. And so I wanted to be that kind of person that people sought out and people wanted to hear the things that I learned that I had to say because they could see something. We build a legacy. And I want my legacy, when it's done, I want people to say, man, that guy had a good influence on me and he helped me along the way to do things. So, I learned that perspective a long time ago from the guys who were in my life, men and women both. Maybe the ones I'm thinking of was more of the men, but there were certainly a couple of ladies along the way that had some strong influence in my life too. And so I learned that, and that kind of became my passion. I wanted to influence them. I want to help them to grow. I want these teenagers and college students that I get to work with, I want them to have positive influence in their life and treat people the right way and build things the right way. And they can have all the success they want, but let's do it the right way. And I just feel like it turns out better and works out better. When it's all said and done and you look back and see, what did I do? I think you can smile at that and say, I treated people well. They treated me well. We did some great things together. And, that's just my perspective on how I see things in life.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I want to ask you something, and I think it transitions to the next thing. you know, we have, you've worked with so many student athletes, right? And people who are just balancing a lot of different things. And I think that when you're balancing family, you're balancing, you know, school, or if you have a job, but you're balancing, you know, learning new skills or leadership training, or, you know, and there's just maybe a lot of things you're trying to juggle. Sometimes it can get difficult to go, okay, well, you know, like all this stuff is important, or I got to get all this stuff done, and get overwhelmed, right?
Right.
So as you've worked with different people in terms of, you know, what to do when, and you know, what's helped you as a leader prioritizing and with organization, like how have you balanced those things?
Well, that's probably the biggest thing I'm asked about all the time is that balance. And you work with everybody from students who are in school and they're single and they're just in school, to students who are in school and they're married and they have families, and people who are out. So balance is a hard thing. How do you balance your life and everything you have to do today? And it really is, it's an ongoing process. But I learned this a long time ago. I really couldn't tell you from where, but it's really worked for me. And you can just kind of picture this in your mind. If you drew a box on your paper in front of you and divide it into 4 sections, and in the top left corner, we're going to put in these 4 boxes, we're going to put some priorities. And then you're going to take your activities and put them into the proper quadrant, if that makes sense. So on the top left corner of your box, it's going to be things that are high importance and high urgency. You know, you could think of things. What's the most important, most urgent thing you have to get done tonight before you go to bed? You know, if you're in school, maybe you have something that's due tomorrow. That's important and that's urgent, so it's got to get done. And then right below that, on the same side of the box, you're going to put high importance but low urgency. So it's important, but it can wait till, you know, Friday. It's important. It can wait till Thursday. Doesn't have to be done tonight. I can get some sleep, you know, and put those. So you're going to set a deadline and you're going to work on it. It's going to be part of your routine. You know, it's coming. It's important. So we can't just ignore it, but we want to make sure that we get it done. And then if you go back to the top of your box and go to the right, the quadrant on the right-hand side is going to be low importance, but high urgency. So those are things that you could probably delegate. You know, they're not necessarily important, but I got to get them done pretty fast. And we got to delegate some of that in your circle of influence that you have. Find quick, efficient ways without necessarily a lot of personal involvement. So when I'm working with athletes, I try to give them those things, which then they're going to develop some leadership qualities. So they got to solve some issues. You know, certain things that have to get done. It's important. You know, I'll give you one it's kind of, this is maybe just in the world of athletics. So before we play our next game, our next football game, everything has to be clean. You got to wash the uniforms. You got to wash. So it's not maybe the most important thing to get done that week, but it's urgent. It's got to be done before we play. So here's your job. You got to figure out how to get everybody's gear. You got to figure out how to get it all done. So it's got to be done before we play. If it's not, you might be losing your job. But, you know, just an example. And then the bottom one, low importance, low urgency, bottom right of the quadrant. So that maybe is just busy work that you have to do. And for sure, you want to try to delegate that if you're able to do so. If you're talking about leading a group of people, we want to delegate some of those things. High importance, high urgency, you're going to want to keep your hand on that one and make sure that it gets done. And you're probably doing that yourself. Maybe if you're in a company, there's somebody who can help you with it, but you got to make sure that it's done. Very important, very urgent, got to be taken care of. And so when you take everything you have to do, if you start thinking about the week, you know, and end of the day, Monday, start thinking about what has to be done by the end of the week and put them into those little quadrants. That helps me a lot just to organize the day. And then as the day goes on, you always get more things that have to be done. So some way of organizing. And that's just, you know, just the way I do it just the way I work. It helps me a lot. There's all kinds of electronic devices you can keep track of that on, or just a pad of paper, whatever you're most comfortable with, writing your list down, adding things. But I think it helps when you section them into different levels of urgency and different levels of importance and when it has to get accomplished. And so I think that's a real helpful way. I use it myself personally, and I think it's a lot. When I get away from it, there's a time when I find myself like overwhelmed with all the things I have to do. And I get to the end of the week and I'm up all night trying to finish because I kind of let it slide at the beginning of the week. That's just part of the leadership.
Sure. And guys, any questions that you guys have for Mr. Jones while we have him here?
Hi. I wanted to ask, as a leader, how do you influence people? How do you motivate people so that they continue to improve, they continue to become more of themselves even without you?
Yeah, I think it's important for them in my world and the ones I'm trying to influence. I want them to know what their role is. I want them to see that they're important. Everybody needs to feel a sense of worth, and then they need to think, perform and do things for something bigger than themselves, not make it about themselves. But I think when they have a sense of worth and they know I value them and their opinion, and they know I value what they do, then I think that influences people to perform at a high level. I know personally with my bosses, when they're encouraging me by saying, man, you're so good at this part, I need you to do this. I usually jump right into that because you're feeling good about gaining some respect and getting some accolades maybe for what you're able to do. And so I think that's maybe the big one, most important, is defining roles. And here's what you do, and here's what you do well. And you don't have to be good at everything if you got a circle of people around you. There are things in my world in coaching that some of my assistant coaches are great at. I don't have to be because they are. So I got them to work with me and they help me do the work. We just delegate responsibilities. And I think that motivation, then they want to work for others and do things for others when they know they have a role, they know they fit in, they know that you value what they say and you value what they do. And it's not just words, but you're showing by your actions that this is a real thing. Then I believe that really motivates people to want to accomplish the greatest things in their life.
Yeah, for sure. And that's huge because when that motivation's there, what ends up happening is now you have individuals who when they're on their own, they want to keep that up and they want to do things. And even whether it's for you or for other people, because, for you, they're grateful for you or they want to impress you or whatever it is, but they liked that feeling of accomplishing at a certain level. And for them, they want to continue on that path. So even when you're not there, they're like, how can I keep getting better? How can I improve? How can I perform at these levels? And so you instill that motivation for them to continue that journey, even when they're not around you.
Yeah, I've seen them, kind of get my back and things that I've forgotten about, but they saw it coming and they jump in and take care because that's the kind of relationship we have. And so it's helped me. And it's not that I'm trying to use them or play with their mind, but it's got to be a genuine thing. And when they know that that's how I really approach this, I think you have people in your life that you would probably do anything for. So what motivates you about them? I have a desire to please the boss that are over me because I appreciate what they've done for me. And it works the same way. Now it's my turn to get the people I influence to feel that same way. And let's follow because I think I'm leading the right way. So jump in and let's go. Let's do it together.
Love it. Other questions?
Yeah, so you kind of answered this a little bit for me with the box on the listing your things with importance and urgency, because I have a lot of stuff to like get done because like for instance last week I front loaded everything because I had a career fair that week. I had the football game on the weekend, and I go to Texas A&M, and I'm in the Corps, so we have to go to the football games.
Right.
And just I have like stuff every day for the Corps that I have to do, and then all my school stuff, and I like front loaded, and came to Friday, and then I still had stuff, and like so it felt like I wasn't even front loading. It was just getting everything I had due done. So, because I've been trying to be able to even get into my office here in College Station just so I can get some practice in for our stuff for GCLA and actually get set up and doing some vector stuff here. But just I really need some more just ways to kind of
Yeah. You know, one of the things I had to learn when I was young is learn to say no. And so sometimes, because there's always more to do, and sometimes you have options. I know when you have requirements and you have to be a certain place, I'm not talking about those things, but then the friends, the family, you know, everybody else is piling on. Sometimes along the way, you have to be able to say no. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for me to learn that because I didn't want to let anybody down, and I always wanted to make sure I was doing everything. But you know, something else is going to suffer. So I would do things for other people. My family's suffering because I'm not there with them. And so what I had to learn, you know, at a pretty young age was I had to learn to say no, and I can't do that, and it's too much. And sometimes people might be disappointed, but you have to do, you know, what's in your best interest. We want to do all that we can. I'm even looking at your sign that's above your shoulder there that says never ever quit, right? So, man, that sounds like you have that motivation going on, but it's okay. If you get so loaded down, you're not going to be able to do all of it efficiently anyway. So sometimes, besides putting it into the proper quadrant, then sometimes we just have to say no. We have to say, you got to let somebody else do this. I can't get all this done. And we have to figure out a way to lighten that load in order to, you know, I think the organizational part, usually when I'm overloaded, and it doesn't sound like this is your case, but when I'm overloaded, it's because I didn't get it done when I should have at the beginning. And now here I am. So now you got all the work this week, and then you're going to get more next week. And so staying up with it, it's a hard time in your life. A lot of things to do, a lot of responsibilities. But I think along the way, you have to be able to tell people, I can't do all that. It's too much. I got to get this done. You know, I can't go here with you. I can't do that activity. I can't do these things. I got all this to do. When I get it done, then we can catch back up and, you know, hope that the people along the way in your life understand that perspective. would be kind of my suggestion to you, not even knowing what all those things are, but it sounds like lots of schoolwork and lots of responsibilities. So I don't know what all you can say no to, but trying to trim down your workload and let some other people do a few things maybe along the way, delegating if there's a way to delegate, and let others help you get those things accomplished maybe.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. There's a statistic I heard that said 20% of what you do gives you an 80% return on life. 20% of your results take 80% of your resources. So if you think about that and putting things in a high importance quadrant, then you're going to spend a lot of time getting a few things done. And there's always so many things. And people will let you work. If you want to work 24/7, they'll give you more to do. And so, yeah, learn that early. Learn to say no when it's the appropriate way, and you can come back to it at a different time. It's usually not that urgent for them, but they just want somebody to do it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how do you, when you're like delegating work to other people, when you're working with other people, what's the best way to set an example or set an expectation that you want people to follow through with?
Yeah, I think you have to sit down with your people and ask them or figure out what they're good at. I mean, it was one of the things that really meant a lot to me, even a little bit later in my career, when one of my bosses said, "Do you think we're using you the right way? And what are your strengths and your weaknesses? And I want you to work in those areas because that's what you're good at. And then if it's something that I really like, then I'm going to have a passion about it. And if you give me something I don't like, yeah, I'm probably going to get it done, but not the same enthusiasm." So I think you got to sit down and figure out what it is everybody's good at. And like I said before, we have strengths and weaknesses. Some of the things I'm good at, my other coaches aren't necessarily, and vice versa. And so good. You do what you're great at. Let me do what I'm great at. And we put it together. I just think you got to learn those things about your people. But asking them, because I'm going back to thinking everybody likes to be heard. You know, if somebody asks you, you know, what are you good at that you could contribute in this situation? Something would come to your mind and you'd say, you know, I want to be the organizer. I want to be the one who goes out and recruits people. I want to be whatever your thing is that you're good at. Everybody likes to be asked. Everybody likes to be felt like this person is really interested in where I'm at and what I'm doing. You know, I really have one boss I can think of in my whole career that asked me that question. But it meant so much to me that I ask that question all the time. And what do you think is your strength here? And how can I best use you? And that's what I want to do. I want to use you in your best strength.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good deal. Last thing, I know someone asked this before of Dr. Hope, top favorite leadership books. Someone's just diving in. I know you've read like a gazillion, but what are some of your top favorites?
Well, you know, what the thing is, there's always new stuff out there, and probably most of the leadership books I read revolve around athletics. So, of course, there's things to learn from that. But if you're not really into that, maybe it's not quite as interesting to you. Brene Brown is one of the hot authors that's out there now. She's, you know, I read her book Dare to Lead. You know, there's a lot of them that she's written. In the world of athletics, there was one written by a college in Chicago, the Messiah College, and it's called the Messiah Way. And they talked about how they developed their soccer program to be the best soccer program in the nation. It's a Division II school, so probably most people haven't even heard of it. But if you're looking at wins and losses, they're the best soccer program in the country. And it was a great book to read about coaching. You know, I liked it a lot. And then there's certain authors that I like and read the things that they've written. And so, you know, I was trying to think of some names that I could throw out there too, some names of some books. There's a book that I read that's called Insight, and Tasha Urich wrote the book. And in that book, she's talking about your blind spots that you have in your life. And I thought that was really intriguing. I spent lots of time. So, you know, by definition, that's an issue you have in your life that you didn't even realize. And as a leader, you think you're doing all the right things, and people around you are seeing your blind spots and you don't see them. And so that book had an impact on me. You know, Brene Brown also wrote Rising Strong, another one of her books. I've read those two. Maybe or probably you've already read Carol Dweck's book on mindset. You know, that was one of the first ones I was encouraged to read. And there's lots of stuff on mindset, but she kind of set the standard. I think she's from Stanford, and she wrote that book. And everybody in the world of leadership, I think, has at least heard of it and probably has read it. I know I read it and read through it a couple of times, and I took parts of it to teach my leadership class on a growth mindset and a fixed mindset and how you can grow. And so I think those are some good places to start.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And by the way, if anyone did have any additional questions or wanted to reach out, is there a best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, through my email. It's my first initial last name, S. Doan, DOAN, at WCSmiami.org. sdone@wcsmiami.org. And I'd be happy. I could talk about this stuff all day, and I'd be happy to offer any kind of advice that I can. And hopefully, maybe something that was said tonight sparks some interest in your thinking. And if we can expound on it, please feel free to let me know, and I'd be happy to do so.
Could you say your email one more time, please?
Yes, sdone, DOAN, @wcsmiami.org.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Doan. I appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me speak to the crowd, and maybe we'll do it again one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
All right, good night.
Yeah, good night. Oh yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. So I want to take a couple minutes because we've gotten a lot of information in the last like hour and a half to kind of debrief a little bit on just stuff we heard, stuff to implement. I had some additional thoughts too that I wanted to share with you guys, but I'd love to hear some of the biggest takeaways from this for you guys. And then I want to add a couple tidbits to help with things that were really helpful for me in my journey as well. And so we'll be bringing in speakers, and obviously I've had some incredible mentors, and I'm around pretty amazing people, and that's something that I think is so important. And you've heard it. You heard Dr. Jamie talk about that, right? With people. You heard Mr. Don't talk about that. That's where it got. And it's like you've got to be really looking at your circle. I'm going to be speaking in a couple weeks. I speak to entrepreneurs from all over that I'm speaking to at an event in California. And this is a big part of my message is around that, and just really like when we want to move forward towards, certain goals or whatever the life that you want is, like it is so important that we are so careful about the people around us. And I constantly talk about givers and takers, and who in your life gives you energy and who's taking away. And you've got to be conscious of that. You've got to pay attention to that. You've got to be aware of that, right? Because there are people that take some time from us. And as Dr. Hope said, you want to minimize your time with them, but some people you can't eliminate them. Maybe it's someone that works with you. You can't fire them, but they like really suck energy or whatever it is. And so I might not want to spend as much, or if I do, I want to make sure that I'm then spending the time with the people that really fill my cup, and talking to someone from my tribe, or someone or like those people that she listed. But it's like for me, there's two buckets: givers and takers. And I'm very conscious of where my energy is going in those places, and then definitely always having people you're learning from, people you're learning and growing with, people that you're mentoring. I think is so important, And I love how she added to that of like having that Bill friend where you can give your failures, you can vent, you can be real. Who is that for you? And really identifying that, as well as like, who take a bullet for you, and knowing like what kind of relationships have I built, what kind of an impact. And I think, and I want to hear, because there was two completely different talks, but there were some similar things, that were there. And so what are some of the other things you guys caught there that you heard that were similar things? And then what were takeaways that you guys had from here?
First thing they both basically said.
Go ahead, Ken.
First thing they both basically said, you gotta learn how to say no. You can't do everything.
Mm-hmm.
You overwhelm yourself trying to please everybody, then you get frustrated, and stuff still don't get done.
Yep, absolutely. And sometimes people they just overcommit themselves because and it's like, is this in alignment for me when I'm asked to do things? And even speaking, I've been asked to speak on things, and my first response is not yes. My first response is, I'd love to know what it is to see if it's in alignment with stuff that I'm doing, because if it's something that's going to lose energy like that, I can't take something on. I have too much going on already that I can't have something that's going to take energy from me. But if it's something I enjoy that gives me energy, like Dr. Hope has so many things happening. She's a mother of 2 kids as well, and her husband. And so beyond her 4 different businesses like I have, she also has kids and a husband, and is very busy and working with all the ER. So me asking her to speak is taking time away from her being with her kids, being at home in the little time she's there. But for her, this is something that actually energizes her. Like she loves speaking about this, and it really gives her a high, that helps bring her energy up even after a hard day or going into a hard day. This brings her up versus brings her down. Does that make sense? Where there might be a group she's speaking to on something else where she's like, like not my favorite thing to talk about, or something that is necessary and I have to speak on, but it's kind of draining, right? And so those are things that we look at when we're going through that. So that's huge. Is like and knowing, and I think that when you know where you're going and what you want to do, and Mr. Don't talked about that, right? Start with the end in mind. Then you can really look at, okay, does this match with what I'm doing, right? And I've had to close some doors to opportunities that could be great because I know the end of what I want to create, and I'm like, that's going to be a distraction, And even last week, I was reached out to by people if I could coach them in business. Like, can you be a business coach for me? And these are people in different industries. And I was talking to one of my coaches and I said, I think I might take these clients. I don't know though. She looked at me and she laughed and she goes, no. She goes, your ultimate goal is to be doing more facilitation, group work, doing this, doing that, working with the division. And so that's just going to take away from you giving time and attention to the other people. I'm like, you're right. And she's like, no, you can create more in what you currently have without taking energy to do that, because I made a decision this year with having the baby that was something I was going to do less of, and I was going to say no to more because it was draining me more than filling me. And I had to really evaluate that. So that's a great thing you brought up, Ken. Who else? What other things did you guys hear or see that were, like any commonalities between stuff that you heard? Go ahead.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah. Taking care of you, getting time away. And by the way, that can look different ways. Cool. Like for some people, taking care of you, it is going and having a workout, going for a walk or a run. It is having a great conversation with like grandma or, your best friend or whatever. It's time going and journaling by yourself, or just meditating. Like it looks different for different people. And that's where it's not one prescription. Just like she said with stress, she's like, I got a list of 57 things. Like, it's not like, here's what you do, but it's like, you've just got to take time for what fills your cup. Like, what is it that's going to refuel you? What is it? And I love that she talked about like stress hard, stress soft. But my stress reliever was always boxing. Like I need to punch it. And it's great. And I was like, oh. And then let's go do yoga. We would always laugh. Like, you do boxing and yoga? I'm like, yeah. And it was just good to hear that, because I'm like, there you go. I didn't have anything wrong. I was like, there were two things that filled me, and sometimes I wanted to hit shit, and sometimes I wanted to like meditate and stretch. It was different. So what else?
One thing she said was like,
Lauren?
You can only be killing it in your business, and then she said like, but you can only do that for so long
Before killing yourself. Absolutely. Anyone on here on Zoom? Yeah.
What is up? Yep. Okay. So just like the whole, like first, like the whole empty acronym, like just all the stuff in that, and then I liked how like they didn't necessarily come like with the intention of saying the same thing, but a lot of the things they were saying were like intermeshing. Like somebody already said it, but like the me time, like he said it in a more technical, like he said, sharpen the saw, like, so like different wording but meaning the same thing. And then one thing that he said that I liked was like, you need to have a philosophy, not like whether that is going out and finding one that you agree with, like mine is approaching life with such overwhelming positivity that people might think I'm a little crazy, but it works out for me, and it's worked out so far, so I'm just going to keep going with it. But just those things. And then obviously whenever he answered my question, because obviously like last week I was just front loading, like, oh, I'm gonna get all this work done. Friday comes, still have like 3 hours of, I don't know, like spent 5 hours coding and engineering projects, still had calculus homework. It was like, I've been doing this all week.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something you get better and better at with, you guys have been you heard about time management, or like decision management, right, at CFC. And then this past month, last couple of weeks, talking more about that. But when you get really good at going, okay, one of the things that I train people on all over that I speak on, for a long time. And I remember even in 2008 having the head of career services for FIU in the Schools of Miami coming and shadowing me for a day and taking notes, asking me, how do you get everything done? And walking her through, because it's like, there's a lot of stuff to do and it can be overwhelming. But when you sit down and make a list of what's everything that has to get done, all right, and then actually look at like, when are things due? When should things happen? And prioritize stuff and know what's most important now, right? Like, it's like, okay, this is due by this day, by Wednesday. This has to be done by Friday. This ideally can get done this week. If not, it can be done next week. And me knowing that, so I can prioritize versus, and I love how Mr. Doan was talking about those 4 boxes, because I see people on Monday working on something that's important, but it's not urgent to this week, or it's not urgent to that time slot. You could do that at 8 o'clock at night, but right now you could create so much more by working on this activity that also needs to get done, that during this time of the day is actually way more urgent, way more, because it's going to create so much more for you or do so much more, so it's really looking at the activities that need to happen, but then going, okay, like these need to get done today. What's time sensitive, right? What's going to be me getting this done earlier will do more. And sometimes you might not have something like that, right? But I think about in this business, and for those of you who are running an office, there are business things that if you got it done earlier could create more. Like having that conversation with someone earlier that could have led to leads that you could have met later that day. Making a decision or going to a campus, doing that at 11, because then at 4 o'clock they're not there anymore. When you finish your other tasks, you're like, all right, I'm gonna go to the campus now. It's like, well, the people aren't there that you wanted to see. They left at 4 o'clock. So just really being able to look at things that you need to do. And so some things in your guys like won't have a certain time. Some things will have a certain time that you want to get stuff done. But there's a process we go through, and mine is real simple, where I like list everything I have to do for the week. And I've told Roman about this, and I believe he shared this with some of you guys. But my process of like, I list everything out, and then I prioritize, like, okay, I put what are things that happen at certain times. Like I have no control, they just happen at certain times, and like putting those things into my schedule. What are things that I need to get done that week that can be done at whatever time. But then like they don't have a set block time. But then I'm looking at due dates, but it has to be done by here, or it has to be done by here, and prioritizing, and then filling in the holes on other things that I want to get done. And those include family things, those include workout, that includes me time, that includes work, but really like, have you taken time to list before a week starts? I'd have a whole, like on a schedule sheet on the back, I wrote every single thing that I want to happen that week in order for that week to roll. And that includes food prep, that includes workouts, that includes date night, that includes study time, that includes everything. Lunch with my best friend on Friday, like everything was in there. And so those are things that we learn. And so I do it like second nature. By the way, when I don't take time to do that, I feel like a freaking hot mess, but like that, I was like, oh, they're like, you do so much. I'm like, oh, like, I mean, I know what's happening, and then I just go, like, I map it out. Like I know what I want to get done for the year. And then I break down by campaign. Every campaign, I spend a day and look at that quarter or semester, right? And then every month I take, 3-4 hours and I look at the month and just, where am I behind from the month before? Where could I get ahead for the next month? Like what needs to happen to stay on track for my goals? Every week I take an hour and I look at the week for an hour and I map everything out, look at stuff. What went good last week? What could have been better? Where can I adjust stuff? So I take an hour to look at the week. And then every day you take 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes in the morning and walk through your day and just look at the day and flow of what's going to happen that day. And something that, by the way, Dr. Hope mentioned that I do every day is when I'm walking through my day, I'm like, what happens if this gets or like, how about if something comes in the way? Or how about if, like this, like, how am I going to handle it? And so I actually look at that and know, like, if I'm running late to this, whatever, how am I going to handle it? If this happens, how am I going to react to it? And already coaching my mind on like what's going to happen if like it didn't go this way, so that I'm not like, oh my gosh, in like freak out mode if it didn't, but already having solutions to if something changes, if something ran late, if something wasn't done, like, what else can happen or what could happen. So those are things that you learn as you go, and then it gives you like so much more like peace of mind, because your brain knows what needs to happen, and that helps with your mental energy too, because when you're like, oh yeah, what do I have to do, what do I have to do, that drains your mental energy. And the human mind, and there's a bunch of studies, and you guys can look at the science, but you can only make a certain amount of decisions in a day. They always say start with your heaviest decision task earlier into the day, because as the day wears out, your energy starts flowing. Like you guys are all like, like, and I get it, like we're at the end of the day, and like that happens, it like weans off. And so you want to be conscious of that as well. But when you like, your mind already knows what needs to happen, like it's like, okay, next thing, okay, all right, and like it knows, it's kind of like prepped and ready to go for the day, versus not knowing what's going to happen and being in a reactive mode or in a stressed out mode. And so that's really important as you guys are going through. Other takeaways, other comments. There's no way the air's on right now. Okay. Can you send an email, because we're paying for it till 8.
Figure out what people are good at and put them in a position to succeed.
Love it. Figure out what people are good at and put them in positions to succeed. And by the way, what's something that we've talked about a little bit that you guys can utilize to help you with that in your lives and your future businesses, even with your families? What's a tool? Yeah, personality tests, strengths finders, things like that. Maybe one of your kids, you find out like loves organizing, and like they love it, and you're like, hey honey, can you help me organize all this and label this? And they're like, yes, they're so excited. And your other one is like, ugh, like that's not what they love. And if you told them, that's so draining for them, but the other person thrives on that, and they're so excited about that, and just knowing what type of tasks are going to give people more energy, and they're good at and they thrive at. And so by using, knowing like the Enneagram and how people, like there's some people who want to be in a supportive role. That is what they want. They don't want to be the CEO. They don't want to be the one driving ship. They want to help that ship go. They want to help everything happen, but like that's where they thrive, is in that supportive role. That's important to know, because if you're like, I need you to make decisions, do all this, whatever, they're like, because that's not what they like to do. They want you to go, here's what needs to happen, do it. And they're like, boom, I got it. And they go execute. And so knowing that about your people, you have people who like to innovate and create ideas, and like they love doing that. And then you have people who just want to know what to do. And when you tell them, they'll do it, and they'll do amazing with that. But again, if you tell a banker, hey, can you please go do this, or there's a script over there, they'll freak the hell out, all right? And you're going to hurt them more than help them. And so this is important stuff, and that's why we've been talking about this. What else? Other takeaways?
Just on that note, because I don't, you might have said it because I think I heard it, but something that Ashley White would do to everybody at my office was, there was like a certain personality test. I don't know which one it was, but it was the one that said like, if you were like, I was like a merchant innovator. So whichever test that is, but she would literally make everybody take it, like Jacob, everybody at the office. And she'd do that so whenever she had PCs with us, because she studied like in depth what each personality type meant, and then she like basically kind of grouped us almost like, okay, my merchant innovators, I know what your problems are for work, what gets in the way of you. And it was like she just by having us do that, she knew exactly what was wrong and what we needed and what the counters were to that. So like for me, it was the summer. I liked relaxing and not doing work. So she got me in the office as much as she could, because she knew that even if she wasn't saying you need to work while you're here, she said like, hey, come to the weekly morning stuff. And I'm the type of person, like my personality is, I don't want to let people down. So if they say, hey, can you at least be there? I'll be there. And then she's like, well, since you're here, you might as well do some work. And I did. I ended up doing probably much more work than I would have done in the summer. So just
And this is important too when you guys have a staff and when you build your staff and there's like the list of things that have to get done for the day. Well, instead of, and by the way, you want staff that's tied in, that's like whatever needs to get done, whatever we need to do, let's go, let's do it. And everyone knows like we all have to do whatever it takes at whatever time. But when you have staff built and there's like 5 things that need to get done, and like one of them is very like organizational or structural or counting kids or doing literature order or whatever, your banker, they're on it and they're excited and they're super happy. Your merchant wants to shoot their brains out. All right. That's just not what they love to do. And if there's an interview happening that needs second manning, who should you have doing that? The merchant, because then they're going to be super happy. They're chatting with people, they're connecting, they're interacting, while the banker's over there doing like whatever order has to get done. Everybody's happy and stuff's happening and it's moving. And so like just being conscious. And again, that doesn't mean it's not always going to be perfect, you know. But I'm saying if like right now we're like we need to get that done, and you have these people in front of you and you know how they're wired, you can put them on the best task. And then that makes everybody feel good and be way more efficient, you know? So just being conscious of that makes a really big impact for you guys, and not just in Cutco, but with everything, you know? One of the biggest mentors in my life, you know, that's a huge part. And as I've learned more and more, and I started meeting more and more top level CEOs, like that's a big part of the hiring process. And I started teaching that to people as they started opening businesses, where it's like, do you know, one, what positions you need filled? And even if people are great, that doesn't mean that you need to hire them, because maybe you don't have the role for them. The person I need right now needs to have X, Y, and Z and be able to do these things. And even though this person's awesome, like I'll keep them in my back pocket, but like they're gonna like die slowly or quickly in this role because it's not, you know, where they thrive, you know? So that's a really big part. He's like, I do all hiring, all decisions, you know, based through that, you know, knowing where people are going to be at their best. And so that's really important. Any other things, comments from anybody else? Go ahead. I can't hear you.
Sorry, yeah. I think I accidentally double clicked my mute. I don't remember if anyone said this already, but I think that line that Mr. Doan gave to us was seek first to understand, then to be understood. I think that's a really positive mindset to have, because you are not you're not being selfish in the workplace, and you're allowing others to be heard, which is validating for them, and it's conducive to the workplace environment. It makes people all feel like like I said, like they've been heard. I think that's really important as a leader to have that, because then you start gaining the respect of people around you, and that's super important.
Yeah, that's huge. And something Mr. Doe shared that I want to reiterate for everybody that is just so important is like that focus of like, how are we, like he mentioned it almost in every point. There was something about building relationships, knowing your people, how are we treating people, right? Like that was a theme throughout his entire, you know, message. And I'll tell you guys, that's something I saw from when I was young. And I was like, wow, like everyone just felt so good that was around him. And he was so good at always pointing out the good in everyone. And by the way, did that mean he ignored the bad? Like, no way. He's an incredible coach and mentor, but he always pointed out, like, he saw the good in people, and that helped him connect in a way where people wanted to listen to what they could get better at, right? They wanted to hear from him, and he can coach and guide them like, hey, here's how we can improve, because he knew they knew that he saw the best in them, that he had their best interests in mind, and that he wanted to help them grow, you know? And so do you spend time listening to your people? Do they feel heard? You know, are we actually wanting to become a good listener? You know, are we wanting to create space where we can really make sure that our people are feeling good and being priority? And it's easy. I'll tell you right now, it's easy to get caught up in the go and create and put that to the side. And I can tell you from experience, because I have done that, and where I just got so go, and it's like, oh my gosh, I need to step back and make sure that I'm seeing where my people are, Are my people being heard? How are they feeling? And making sure that we're looking at that, because the best leaders really do an incredible job of that. I think it's so huge. And he mentioned, one of the books, Insight, that was on just like, your blind spots, and the best leaders really know, like, there's always room for growth. Like, we always have room. I'm far, far from perfect. And I think the best leaders know that. There are always things and always ways that we can be evolving. And so I challenge you guys, as you're going through, and as we're going through this program, what are you doing to constantly keep growing yourself? What are you constantly doing to improve yourself? And so I want to give you guys a couple things before our wrap up speaker. And I might have a couple final thoughts afterwards, but actually one thing I wanted to mention that I wanted to throw out there for you guys with the whys behind things. This is something that I've been speaking a lot on in different groups, and as I've been asked to speak on things, and when you're doing things, because people ask me all the time, how do you stay motivated to do this? How do you stay focused on a goal? That's been like probably the thing I've been asked most in my life, and I say, well, I know why I'm doing it, but like really. And I know that Dr. Hope mentioned her list of 12, because then eventually you get to, of course, something I came up with some time ago was my 3 whys test. And I share this, and I said, I found that by 3, you're actually getting somewhere. Sometimes you got to the core, sometimes it may take 1 or 2 more. What do I mean by this? And you're asking someone, oh, why is this important to you? Like she's saying, oh, I want to reduce my cholesterol, whatever. Okay. And why is that important? And they're like, oh, well, I want to be healthy. And be like, well, what does that matter? Why does that matter? And they're like, well, I want to be around for my kids. I want to like be able to play with my grandkids, when I'm in my 90s, or I want to hit this or whatever. And like, now you're getting to something that really matters. Does that make sense? And usually you feel that emotion come out, but it takes at least 3 whys of like, why do you want to do this? Why is that important to you? Why does that matter? Some version of that. And it's like, well, why does that matter? Why is that important to you? And so asking that, so you go those deeper layers with people, because this is going to help you guys a lot with coaching people too. So someone says, oh, John, I want to do blanky blank. And you're like, oh, that's awesome, man. Why? Oh, well, because I want to do this. And it's like, oh, well, why is that important to you? And they say, oh, because yeah. And you're like, oh, cool, man. And why does that matter to you? And they're like, what do you mean? Why does that matter? Because they get all like super excited. Now, okay, we're there, and that that's a real thing. And you have something that's way deeper that you can bring up when they want to give up, when they're feeling frustrated, when they're feeling overwhelmed. Like you really have a why that matters to them, that you can connect and really help them, to stay focused on whatever journey they're on, in or out of the business, right? It doesn't matter. And the fact is that the more we help individuals thrive, as individuals, the better your businesses are going to do. I just had the opportunity last week to help lead a retreat for the regional team, the regional directors, and the vice president for a management, building management company. And so we were with this core group of leaders, and the theme for them of their retreat was people first. And how do we keep our people first while we build, our company, our business? And they're doing very well. But and I loved that, and I had a chance to share with them and talk with them. And I said, I love that that's the theme of this, because the fact is that our organizations and our business will grow, I think, to the correlation that our people grow, and when sometimes you hear, don't mix business and, personal life. And what conscious leaders are now knowing and understanding is that, you're not like, you don't have to mix it. Like there's a certain, like, there's a line, right? But it's like knowing why your people are working. Why are they working with you? What life do they want to provide for their families? What do they want to do for their kids? What ultimate goals do they have? And conscious leaders and conscious businesses are bringing in like dream managers. They're bringing in people that can actually like speak on these things, and it's pretty amazing to see what's happening in these companies that are really conscious about what's happening with their people. And guys, what happens is, and I was sharing with these individuals as I like really commended them on their focus, I said, a lot of people forget that when you really know why your people like want to work, why do they want to make money, What do they want to do with it? And you really know about that, and you get to have that. And it could be as simple as having like a fun dream board in your business, in your wall, or whatever. I said, but when you know these things, what happens is like, and you're helping people towards those, and you're asking about those things, people are more loyal to you because they appreciate what you're doing for them. All right. And people want to do more for you, and they want to do more for your business. And you don't do it for that. But it's like, if you have a people first mentality and understand, the best leaders know that, like, as we serve our people and as our people grow, our organizations thrive. So what can we do as coaches, as leaders, to help our people be at their best? And what are we doing to help them achieve the life of their dreams? It goes a really long way, and that was something that, I gave them all my book, and I said, I wanted to give you guys this as a gift. And they were like, oh my gosh. And some of them had heard of Dream Manager. I said, these are great tools. There's exercises, do it with your people. I said, do one a week, do one a month. I go, there's really great exercises where your people will be like, wow, this is so awesome that they're like even having us think about this stuff, that we're like taking time to mention something in a meeting that has nothing to do with like, how are the tenants and what's the, this happening in the business, when are we doing the new building, but we're saying, hey, any feedback and for 10 minutes on like the exercise from last month that we talked about on things that you wanted to bring you more joy, to your life. And people sharing that, like, it just opens up a different space. And we're going to be talking about next month in our next meeting about just like when you're connecting the heart and the mind, what happens. There's so much that goes on there. And they found that like our hearts have like their own brain. Like they have like, there's so much that happens like in our heart when we see like our emotions like attach to actually how our heart works. And that's why you feel your heartbeat, go faster, this, that. And there's a bunch of cool science around that, which is the power of, gratitude, right? And how that impacts the power of, envisioning stuff and connectedness with other people. Like, what does that do for people? The power of connection. And so we'll be talking a lot about those things. And again, these aren't things that you necessarily hear and study all the time at school. They aren't things that you hear everywhere, but this is the future of leadership. This is where the biggest and best organizations, like, they get it. That we're humans, we're not just robots, and there has to be a sense of connection there. And the deeper that connection is, the higher the productivity is, so we'll be chatting more about that. So give me one moment, because Adam, our speaker, is calling. Mr. Stock, I'm doing wonderful. I pressed to let you on and then I lost you. Got it. Got it. There is, I think when you click to go on the Zoom on your phone, it lets you join through calling in. I don't have the dial-in number on me at the moment. Can you check to see when you go to join if we have a dial-in number? I'm gonna have someone look it up so we can send it over. Okay, all right. So last, and we'll go over a couple. We'll go over a couple things real quick, rapid fire while he's getting on. So we talked about savings in the beginning, continuing to build that. So right now, do we have at least one day a week that you're doing several appointments every week? So go to like join by dialing in, and then if you can screenshot that, Ryan, and send it to me, that would be awesome. So we've got this is the last week of SLC Push. All right. So we have this week until next Monday for SLC Push. Next week, myself and all the district managers will be in St. Louis, Missouri, representing for our division, for our offices, for our region. This is the one time a year Lloyd Reagan goes on stage for a push countdown, and he'll be representing for Southwest region. And so we're excited about really finishing this next week strong. And I know a lot of our top guys are planning on a huge push to finish off. And so what can we do this weekend to get a big spike? Can you guys pick at least one day, if not 2 days, even if you're not regularly doing demos and you're away at school? Can you pick a day or two that you can focus on to get that done? because that's going to go a long way. All right. With this week, but then just getting in the rhythm of that, you know, as we prepare. We have Olean. Olean push is a couple weeks away, and that's going to be huge for everybody. But especially, and I say use that as an excuse to like hike it up and put some more money away. But especially for those who are going, and you're going to have a push countdown in front of the CEO, president of our company, like all the C-suite, all the executives, everybody's there. It's super cool, you know, getting a chance to do that and being able to learn from them. All right. Let's see here. All right. All right, cool. Let me send that over. So yeah, so that way you guys have are continuing on that growth path. So if there's one thing you should have gotten down this past month already that you should know and be comfortable with, to PR call. If you have not gotten that or learned that or gone through that, please message me so I can send you a video and the script again so you have that. But you want to get really comfortable and just practice a PR call. And whether you have somebody else who's in the program, they can say, hey, can we practice over the phone? Or somebody who's more experienced that you can practice with. If you want Erica or Valerie in my office to listen to you and give you feedback, we can do that. And so they will be available, and we can set up times that you guys can set up a 30 minutes with them to practice a couple times and get feedback. This is one of the most important tools of recruiting because 70% of our recruits or more are PRs. So are you comfortable? Are you confident when someone says, here's my friend, or hands you a phone on how to speak to them? So that is something that we'll be following up with everybody to do a test call because I think that's super huge. And you guys can set up a time to do that here in the next couple weeks. And then this month from now until we see you guys next month, the focus is what? Anyone remember what you want to make sure you have down? The interview. All right. So your interview. So this past month, we should have really gotten we talked about the PR engine. We went through the PR call. We also talked about campus and stuff. I just want to make sure we have that PR call, how to actually call the PRs that you're feeling really comfortable. So you'll have a test call here in the next couple weeks. You can schedule your time. So I'll set that up with the girls here tomorrow. And then we'll send out a link to everybody so you guys have it. We'll get that sent out probably Thursday, actually, once I'm back from Dallas. We'll get that sent out to everybody so you guys can pick a time. And then, and those will be primarily for next week and the week after that we'll have times open to have your approach tested and really see where you're at and give you feedback on stuff. So we'll send that out. And then this month, you want to make sure, well, if you don't have that we're getting that down, but that you guys are getting your interview down. So record yourself with the different parts. So you can record yourself with that and then make that list of all the 4 different areas of being able to recruit on campus, off campus, what do we say? Campus, or excuse me, off campus, on campus, social media, what you can do on social media, and then ways to get PRs, you know, which kind of goes in the umbrella of there. All right. So those are the things we want to focus. So do we have Mr. Adam Stock? Let me see. Adam, I don't know if you're muted. We cannot hear you. No. Huh? Stock. Scott spoke before. Can someone else speak so I can see if there's an issue here, or can someone unmute? Okay, I can hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I don't see him on the list of
I don't think
analysts or whatever we're
I
called.
don't think he's in the call. Yeah.
Well, he actually texted me and said he's on the call and he can hear me.
Is he a panelist?
I don't know. It says one call and listener, so I don't know how to make him one.
Hmm.
Can
that's probably
yeah,
it.
I'm guessing he's trying to talk right now. So, but we can't hear him.
Hmm.
No, we cannot.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how to do this.
Group me, rookie.
Let's see here. Let me try the Zoom again. So if I go to the Zoom, and Adam, I'm going to on my phone. If I want to dial in, yeah, I
You
have.
pop up, yeah.
Well, yeah, I just went on my phone. I just want to make sure I have this. That this is matches what I sent. Yeah, this is it. So we can try again. Hopefully we can get this figured out now. I hope so. If not, I'm not sure. I guess we can call. No, I can't call him through my phone with this onto Zoom. So I just sent it again, Adam, just to see if it pops up a different way and it lets you speak. I'm not sure why it's not letting that. But everyone has their assignments for this month. Let's figure that out. So PR, you're going to have a one-on-one, so you can have your PR call tested. Second, you're going to make your list for what can we do to help create PRs, what can we do through social media forms, what can we do off campus and on campus. Making of.
I'm sorry, Kathy, you cut out. Can you repeat?
Yeah. So on campus, off campus, social media, and PRs. There could be some stuff that overlaps, but an extensive list of. I want to see how many different, variations you can get and specifics of things that you could do to create recruits on campus, things that you can do to create recruits off campus, and the passive recruits. And actually, we didn't add that in there. We talked about it, but we didn't add that in there of just like any postings. So I guess that would be off campus, so just any kind of postings. So passive or active recruiting through social media, and then with PRs. So just getting a list, an extensive list of ways that you can create PRs. And we're going to have a discussion on that when we come together on October 8th. All right. So Tuesday night, October 8th, that is our time, as the same time that was on the schedule before. That has not changed, and that will not change. So just so you guys are aware of that. So we have that. So you're getting your PR approach listened to and get tips on it, and you can ask questions. So I'll email it out again so you guys have it. You're doing your list, and then you're getting your interview in the next month. You want to get that down. Your pre-screen, your post, the opening, and your perks. You want to get down and just really comfortable with. Okay. So that is over the course of this next month. Pick apart each week or whatever. Like the pre and post are pretty easy to get down quickly. You could probably do 2 of those in 1 week. And you can still have it in front of you. So just getting comfortable going through it, but things you want to study there. So Adam, it says we have a call listener. Can you try to speak to see if we can hear you?
Hey, Kathy, do you think later I could give you another email to send stuff to me? Because I use a different email mainly when I'm at school.
Yes, please send it. Okay. All right. So he's having issues with internet. So that's okay. We'll rebook him in the future. So I think we've had a lot of stuff coming in today. So I just want to bring us to a close. So I know before, and I don't know, Roman or John, if there's anything you guys want to add to stuff that we've gone over, things that you heard, things that you want to emphasize or reiterate for those, especially those who are going through this for the first time, any things that you guys would add to it?
Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw in the chat, but Edwin had posted saying 20% of your results takes 80% of your resources. That's something that Scott had said, and I really liked just how he was talking about the philosophy, and I don't want to piggyback off of what I think Steven said it earlier, but that philosophy is huge, and like knowing what that is and just how you go about your life day to day to become an effective leader, like knowing true to your philosophy and sticking to it like through it all. I really like that. And talking about Dr. Hope, how she was talking about like your sleep is something that our generation lacks. And she used the table analogy, how if you kick one of those legs out, what's going to happen? Like it's going to fall. And I don't think it's something that a lot of us think about, because like, oh, we're young, we can do this, and no, I pull all nighters, and oh, I'm fine, and like, but I think of the leg falling out, and it's gonna topple eventually. And so just taking that more seriously, and I think that the diet is something that I've been focused on a little bit more. But it is something that's really serious, making sure that you're putting like clean energy in your body. I know it's something that we talk about a lot, but I mean, she's a doctor, you know, like to hear from, I know that y'all have your fitness nutrition company, but like, she's a freaking doctor, like hearing it straight from her. She's like, it's a table, you know, and you knock one of the legs out. Like that was just clicked in my head. I'm like, damn. Or I think of it like a car. It's like one of the tires is gone. You're not going to be driving so hot.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was all great. I think one of the biggest things I've learned in this job is like, it just, you know, on the path to success, you know, that we're all on, is learn to say no. That's the biggest thing for me. Like, I'm just laughing because, you know, in college, like I had so many distractions. I was a horrible person in college. I would go out 6 nights a week. Like Northgate was my best friend. And, you know, I'm just looking back, I'm like, if I just learned, yeah, like, honestly, if I just learned to say no, how much better could I have been 4 years ago? You know, and you guys are all in that position, like, but now. And so, like, implement these things, but don't go in, like, don't say no to everything, you know. And she said minimize some things, but like, you know, can you have a trade-off? Like, it's all about opportunity cost. If you trade something off, like, hey, you know what, maybe I'll, instead of watching a Netflix show, read 10 minutes of a book. You know, Spencer told me like 2 weeks ago, he's like, hey John, read 10 pages a day. And I've been slowly increasing it to 15 pages a day. And I hate reading. And it's not because I've little eyes. Like, I'm so tired of hearing that joke my staff keeps telling me, but it's because, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I just like, I was like, oh, I'm a visual learner, but like, you know, there's a power to doing things a little bit differently. So I guess my biggest takeaway for you guys is, you know, just want to say no and just do things a little different. If you want to change, you got to make some type of change in your life. So, and we've heard a bunch of amazing ones today. So just implement that now. And if you can go out, you're going to think you don't know everything, but if you can take care of yourself, you can definitely, you know, give to other people. You know, you can't pour from an empty glass, you know. I don't know who says that. Someone probably lots more than me does. Probably Kathy. But yeah, guys, like if you can just master getting yourself straight and all these things that we're learning like now, oh my gosh, you guys will crush it. So that's just what I gotta say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanna say this because I think that, you know, some people too, like you can look and you're like, okay, but you know, we're studying the interview and there's a lot of stuff that you want to be doing on your own, and we can also practice with you. But a lot of this, like we have a curriculum and you guys want to be putting it into action. Could you learn it in 2 or 3 weeks while you're home for the break? You can. I don't recommend it, you know, but you can. But beyond just the basics of knowing the business, there's a lot of mental, emotional management that happens during this process. You know, and when you're starting a business, like the mental tenacity and just having the energy. And again, that comes from our physical energy, our spiritual, our emotional, our mental, like our reaction to, we have the energy to do these things, right? Do we know? And Mr. Doan said this, and this was the first class that I ran for you guys, was on conflict management. You know, it's one of the biggest and most important things that you can learn as a leader, and just to have healthy relationships, period, is learning that process on how to have those conversations to get somewhere, you know, and not just be fighting back and forth. And that's draining as hell. And you're not going to get to where you want to go, you know, or be who you want to be. And we want to help you guys be the best you and whatever the heck you do. And that's a big focus of this academy this fall, Leadership Academy is like, yeah, on a weekly basis, we're going over a lot of the Cutco stuff you guys need to be learning. Are you learning it when you hear it that 1 week? No, you're familiar with the topic. All right. Now you've got to make sure that, are we putting it into action? So for those of you who are away, do we have a plan when you come home for Thanksgiving, when you go home for Christmas? I would still have at least 1 hour, if not 2 or 3 in your schedule of study time every week. That it's like, this is my 1 hour of like listening to blank videos, studying this, or putting it into action. Like, you need to have it at a minimum. I recommend 2 or 3. It's like a 1 credit class. And that's what we talked about when I did the interviews for GCLA, right? So are you actually putting in that little bit of homework for that 1 credit class you're taking to make sure that you're getting it down? Because here in this class, I'm not going to grade you with an A, B, or C, all right? You're going to get graded with a paycheck. One, an opportunity, all right? And then a paycheck. So are you setting yourself up the right way so you can really maximize on that? That's really important, all right? We're gonna wrap up our evening, and I'd love to close real quick. Each of you guys, I'd love everyone to share what you're most excited about for this fall, and just moving forward and through Leadership Academy, and whether it's specifically, you know, with this program, whatever. But like, what are you most excited to get from this, through this, to create? And for some of you, it might be that office that you're ready to run next summer, and certain skills for, whatever it is. But what are you most excited for? I want to wrap up with that. So we're going to start with the computer here. Whoever wants to go first, I'm just going to start calling names.
Sure, I got it. It's going to start a bit generic, but I am really excited for that office, just because I love the ability to be able to say that I've affected somebody's life. Like, that's something that we've been talking about a lot in the core this year. Is the hardest thing you can do is change somebody's life. And I feel like because my managers, like all, like Ashley, Jacob, Austin, like they've all affected my life in some way or fashion. And I want to be able to say that I did that for a group of people, financially, leadership wise. Like, I'm doing that here in the core, but I can't necessarily do the same thing for somebody like professionally, financially, that I can do with Vector. And I'm really looking forward to being able to do that this summer, and then carry everything that I learned from that into like industry.
Awesome. Love it. Javon.
Sorry. What I'm most excited for is definitely to learn more, because I've learned so much, but definitely meeting new people and just hearing from different people, because over the summer I kind of started hearing from the same people over and over again. So definitely like stuff like this is very refreshing, and I'm glad to have learned, especially from your mentor, because I'm kind of in the situation he's been talking about. So definitely look forward to that, and definitely look forward to just actually coming back home and seeing everyone. So I definitely miss all of y'all, and I'm ready to open my branch office.
Miss you
so
too,
much.
Dude.
Hey, you see that new episode of Dragon Ball?
Stop. Michael.
No.
Mike.
New episodes.
I would say I'm excited to be tested, as I guess it sounds kind of weird, I think, but I'm excited to see that would be the first thing probably in my whole life where I would be placed in a leadership position of that nature and of that like level, because the only thing that I could compare would be a captain of a sports team, and that only happened to me twice. And I don't think that's, I'm sure it's similar, but on the whole, running your own office and managing people and managing money and all that, it would be the first time something like that would happen in my life. And I'm very curious to see how I'm going to do and how I'm going to handle that. I'm going to be pushing myself to accomplish all these goals, and I'm sure by that time I'll have like concrete goals of what I'll want. But specifically, I'm excited to see how well I do, because I want to know just how far I can go.
Love
the
it.
best I can be.
All right. Who's next? Christina, Orlando? Christina. Oh, bring it.
Okay. So I'm super excited because basically, like, I go to Texas A&M, and like pretty much everyone that goes to school here is probably in debt in some fashion, way, or form. So I'm definitely really excited to show people that they can literally knock out half their student loan debt in the summer and just change people's lives that way, because like you never know. And I'm excited to prove to like myself that how much I can accomplish, like with like running an office and all of that. And because I'm really excited for like the whole experience. Like I honestly wish I could just like skip my last year of college. Not very common for people to say, but I wish I could. So yeah, I'm just really excited like for the whole thing, and like learning from so many different people, like learning more from you, Kathy, and like just everyone. Like Brian and Jacob were down here a couple weeks ago, and I was even like learning from Ryan. Like we've been working at the same time, and obviously learning from Jacob because he's my boss and I love him.
Awesome. Christina P.
I'm super excited about running my own office next summer, just because I want to run my own business someday and I want to change lives, both human and animal. But I'm also really excited about learning how to manage mental and emotional energy and kind of caring for yourself. That way you have more to give to others. Because I think a lot of us get caught up in always caring for others. We never care about ourselves. And we got to learn how to get that healthy balance.
Yep, it's true. And for anyone who's more in their feminine energy, whether you're a male or a female, the feminine energy is definitely one that's more of the nurturing caretaker, and like you don't take care of you as much because you're like everybody else is more important, and that can really take a huge toll, and so really knowing how to balance that energy of just like being and yes, you can serve, but also are you refueling you, so that you are able to serve at higher levels. So I think that's huge that you said that. So that's great. Orlando, is it Aveen or Avine? I say it.
Aveen, my man.
It's Aveen. Aveen, sorry, I was muted. Yeah. Yeah, I just started working with Cutco, a few weeks ago, but I'm really excited to, just to learn. I've already learned so much from John and, all the like stuff he's taught me. And like just from this talk. So I'm just really excited to like see where things go, see where I can like learn about leadership, what I can learn about, selling, how to connect with people. And I'm really excited. I'm still in high school. I'm going to college next year. So I'm like looking forward to things I can take with me, not just in college, not just in high school, but throughout my whole life. So I'm really pumped. I'm really excited to see where things go.
Awesome. Love it.
Teacher, doctor.
Have you. Orlando. Maybe, maybe not. Edwin Mendez. All right. Charlie.
Hello?
Who's that?
It's me.
Nothing.
Can you hear me?
Is this Edwin Mendez?
It's Edwin, yeah.
All right, Edwin.
Yeah, so the thing I'm most excited about is learn to know my strengths, not so much my weakness. And like definitely be a better leader and impact other people.
Awesome. Impact. Beautiful. Oh, Roman, do you want to like wrap us up after everyone here goes, or you want to go now? Okay, he's like, no, everybody else. Here, actually, so they can all hear you guys. I'll grab this. So, actually, Kenneth go first and just pass it around, and then Roman wraps up.
I'm just excited about the opportunity to be able to use Cutco as a vehicle. Can you hear me?
Introduce yourselves.
Kenneth
My boy
Mack,
Ken.
Pilot office. I'm excited about being able to use Cutco, not just as an idea to sell Cutco, but as an idea to help people be able to reach their purpose in life and realize it's more than just about selling knives. So that's what I'm excited about. and change people's lives for the better.
What you're excited for?
Excited also,
Whatever, fall, leisure academy, and or summer. What are you most excited about?
so I'm actually excited to get back in the groove of things. I actually haven't been doing like many demos, and so I'm actually excited to actually finally get back into it. And yesterday I actually hit my 30-30 promotion.
Hey. What's up?
And so like, I mean, making a full-time income with a part-time job, that's pretty exciting. So I'm just trying to get out of the way and pay my college tuition since the scholarships didn't entirely work out. But I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it.
Hi, I'm Lauren. So one thing that I'm really excited for is definitely the opportunity of like getting to run my own business. Like Kenneth said, like it's just a vehicle for what I want to do in my life. And I'm also like this semester, like really, I want to focus on like having a change in attitude and like a change in like the way that I look at things, and like being more positive because I've always been set to have like be in like the leadership role, but like I've never known how to lead. And so actually like learning how to lead and implementing everything that I'm learning here. And so that's just one big thing. And then just like staying disciplined to like doing what I say that I'm going to do. And so, yeah.
Nice. Hey everybody, Ryan Danaher here. So guys, I am super excited this fall. I'm really excited to find my rhythm and find that daily routine, disciplines, habits, working, in the morning and evening, and then filling that with work in between, and just finding that rhythm that works best for me and diving into that. We learned today so important to care for yourself, right? And that's how you step up and be the best leader. So I'm excited for that and that foundation, and then just growing my leadership skills through constant daily interaction with the people that I serve. So super excited about it.
Here, make sure you sign off.
Sign off as Ryan Danaher.
You're watching Disney Channel.
Okay. One thing I'm super excited about this fall. One thing I'm super excited about this fall is building relationships with my customers. I didn't really do a tremendous job of building really good relationships with my past customers. And so I actually just got off a phone call earlier with a past customer who I actually was fortunate enough to build a good relationship with. And she actually opened up to me about some crazy stuff that's going down in her family. She's like a mother of 3 athletes. They all play multiple sports. And one of her kids is actually going through some medical issues right now. So she kind of opened up to me a little bit. Huh? Okay. I was talking about the fall. Do you want to participate? Yeah. So like learning how to build relationships, not only with your customers, but also with your reps that you have is something that's great. That's part of the Vector opportunity because when you have that sense of community and sense of family with your past customers and with your reps that you work with, it's not work anymore. And it just makes the job that much better because you're just hanging out with family, basically.
Is Orlando alive?
Orlando?
Orlandito, ¿dónde?
Orlando, you got 3 seconds and you're out. And you're out. All right, Roman.
You gotta go first, John.
Huh?
John has to go first.
I guess except for the fall. I am stoked for mall season, and I'm really excited for just kind of carrying what we had into the fall. I have a lot of great representatives, and I'm just excited to continue to learn. I love going through GCLA. So, and I'm just okay. I said a lot. Sorry. One thing I'm excited for, the last thing I'm excited for is because we have such an amazing group of young, and I keep calling it talent, but we have just amazing individuals who are going through GCLA, who are going and doing this through the programs. And I'm just so excited for where this division's going. Like we're all on the same page. This is absolutely incredible. And like, we have the best leader in the history of Cutco. So like, I'm so excited, you know, to have Kathy as our manager and just to be a part of this with all you guys. And I'm excited for the Aggies to win more than 8 games this year, because we're going to do it. That's about it. So,
Hey.
Roman.
I'm not gonna keep it to one thing. There's way too many things that I'm excited about. I'm excited to have my baby this fall. But I think it's something that's really cool is I sit here and I look at this group here on Zoom, and I see a new face like a Vines, and he's super tied in. Like I can see him writing notes. He's like asking all these questions, and that means he's listening. And I just think about how like the fall has so many weeks in it, and we need to find more like a Vines, and we can find more development and people who's gonna go out with us, and that just gets me so fired up. And I'm here in McAllen, and I'm like learning all this stuff that I want to be able to try and incorporate, and just different things, and being able to see how it's different and how different organizations do it. And I think it's so awesome to be able to see those types of perspectives. And then I'm like, oh my God, I want to come home. And then I'm like, oh, I have to go out of town to this wedding. I'm like, oh, I honestly am like, frick the wedding. Like, I'm like, I don't even want to have my birthday. I just want to come home and like get on the grind, and just, I'm really excited to build something special and find that philosophy that Scott was talking about, and stick true to it and stay to my heart. And I believe my philosophy is to build an empire built upon family. And that's something that I want to begin building this fall. So that's for the fall. Don't ask me for the spring.
No, that's great. And I'm really excited to see you guys grow. And I know that not everybody was, able to be here, which kind of sucks for them. And I'm excited to really pour into those who really, are here and growing and learning. And I know that I moved the date, so there will be others, but I'm excited about really seeing who that core is that's serious about leading this division and building with. And like, we have an incredible group of people, but I'm like, who's that core? And just seeing these faces. And Aveen, great to have you on here. And I definitely echo what Roman said of just like, seeing someone who's new and young and hungry and excited to learn, like that fires me up. And so I'm just stoked about multiplying that and really pouring into you guys to really help build this division to the next level. So it's going to be awesome. So I love and appreciate you guys. I'll be sending an email. I need Aveen's email so I can include him in our email, and I'd love to get a chat with him soon. All right. So I'll be sending as well for you guys. So see you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.